Okay, I think we might be live. I've got my
You are live, yes.
aces. Hi guys, I'm trying to set things up. Welcome into the Q&A if you're coming in. We're live over on here and on Twitch at the same time. If you've got any questions, please put them in the chat. I'm joined by Beanabees, PurpleCon, Echo Sounds, and Velasanis, and we're just going to answer some Veilguard questions. Just give me a couple of minutes to just do some admin, and then we can get cracking. Nope, that's the wrong thing, Sarah. It's fine, I only put it in Twitch, no one cares.
You are first, Bryn. Hello.
Hey, Bryn, I'm going to make you a mod in a minute when I figure out how to do that. Aren't you excited? I don't think the Discord link is working for me to copy it in. Hey, Bryn, can you, or Ditto, either of you wonderful people, put in the Discord link for me and pin it on Twitch because it isn't working for me. Cheers, guys. You're the best.
Okay, cool. I finally got your
Hey,
Twitch
Olivia.
up. So.
Hey, yeah. We're over on Twitch and TikTok at the same time, so I'm having to switch between chats. I'm just setting things up, and then we will get cracking properly. Has everyone had a wonderful day? Hey, Gwen. How do I pop out chat? This is when I'm trying to remember how to pop out the chat on Twitch. Found it.
I will be back in literally 2 seconds. I'm so sorry.
You're good. I need to set up a little couple of things anyway. Hey Diana, I'm gonna make you a mod on TikTok. You're super excited about that. And we. Okay, so I think that's right. That's there. I get this here. I can see both the chats. Both the chats. You want to link in the Discord server? Yes, I do want you to link in the Discord server if possible. Hi, Nick. Hi, Bryn. You're both. I'm sick, so this shall be low. Very lovely pick me up. Oh God, thanks for coming in, Olivia. Okay. I need to set mods up on TikTok Live. I have not done that before, so you're gonna have to bear with me a second. I normally don't mod it, but I thought with having guests in, I should probably make sure I have actual mods on TikTok for your guys' benefit.
I mean, just in case.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Biddy. Oh,
I got another ad. This is beautiful.
Okay. So apparently there's a button that says moderation settings. I don't know where that button is. Maybe we'll just go without mods. I'm sure we'll be fine.
I don't do this.
I've never needed mods before. I'm sure we'll be fine.
It's all right. Honestly, you've got quite a few loudmouths in this chat. I don't think we're gonna have too much trouble with.
I think we're all we'll be good. We'll be good. Cool. So if anyone's got any questions, pop them in the chat. And I will thinking of the best way to do this so I can actually see you guys. Okay, you guys are there. You guys are there. And I need to put. I have one monitor to do these things, and I one day will set up a multi-monitor setup. But I enjoy too much sitting on my sofa.
You have done amazingly.
Literally, you have.
Cool. I actually think we're laughing and we're ready to go. So if people have questions, if they don't have questions, if you click on the person's name, does it give you options? Not on the browser. I'm currently doing this through my desktop and through TikTok Live browser, which is awful. Not recommended. So unless I can do like /mod and just type in the person's name, that'd be good if it works. I doubt it, but.
At this point, we'll try anything.
I just typed a nonsense story about. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Amazing.
Can I be done with the ads? I want to be able to see the chat, please.
Oh yeah. Sorry, ads.
No.
No. I'm not mad at you.
There you go. 10 cents or whatever it is. You can hold over the person's name on live. It doesn't let me. It just becomes a cursor. Diana, I would love to make you a mod. I really, really would, but it's not. It's the live center.
No, we could just fist fight anyone who comes in.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
I
yeah.
just,
No,
to be fair,
seriously, I'm ready to go.
I just ignore people constantly. Hey, Mione. Oh, Aces, we have questions. Do we have
Mhm.
questions? Yay! Thanks, guys. We have questions. People have locked in. Yes, if you've got any Veilguard questions, ask them. I'm going to be monitoring the chat on both Twitch and on TikTok. So if you're confused where the questions are coming from, that's where. Oh, we've got 19 people over on Twitch. Again, I have no idea how TikTok Live works. Hopefully there's people. Hi, people are in the chat. Thank you for being here. Okay, so let's do it. Open up TikTok to figure out mod stuff, and one of Felisani's TikTok was screaming at me.
What?
One of your TikToks was screaming at Bryn when they opened it up, which I thought was quite funny.
I thought when did I scream at someone?
No, not today. Sorry. I
would have remembered that.
I thought
Yeah,
it was a question,
for
and I
real.
started reading it out, and then it wasn't a
I mean,
question.
I'm always screwing at people. You gotta be more specific. Like,
Okay, so from Absolute Ditto asks, what was your guys' favorite new lore that Veilguard gave us? Bean Bees, do you want to go up first?
New lore. I feel like a lot of the lore that we got was just like confirmation of like years long theories. So it was just like, oh yeah, I knew that. And so a lot of the stuff weirdly didn't feel new to me. Trying to think. I think perhaps I think the stuff with Viper maybe being the Black Divine. Because I was
That
just
was
like,
so wild. That was so wild.
why are you here? Why are you being Batman? Go be the Pope. What's happening?
I'd kill for a
I
graphic
think
novel before like the events of Veilguard with just the Viper being Batman. I think that would be incredible.
I know. The Pope has a
Like,
hobby. Who'd have thought?
yeah.
You know who's
Very
actually
bizarre.
Batman in Dragon Age,
Mhm.
though? Nev Gallus. Nev Gallus is Lady Batman, and that's just
Absolutely.
all there is
I
to
thought
it.
she
Like,
was more like the question. Sorry, I'm a comic book nerd as well.
no, absolutely, love it, love it. I think that we could compare her to many comic book characters, and that's one of the things that I'm so sorry. This is not supposed to be a Nev Gallus rant. I just can't stop thinking about my wife.
How many times
Anyway.
have you romanced Nev now?
6.
Not to shame, not to shame.
No.
I
Yes,
respect it.
it's 6. I have started my 7th playthrough to romance Tosh. I made them a super fucked up little weirdo Mornwatch. I'm super excited because this is also a spirit turned human, like what Cole did. They were
Nice.
a spirit of courage, and so that's what happened in the necropolis. A spirit just kind of was like, I want to do all of that after like interacting with the Mornwatch for long enough, and then manifested, but he doesn't know it. Pronouns are he, they. He thinks he's human, so
That's really cool.
I
Yeah.
love him.
he's pretty great. His name is Valen because I'm uncreative and it sounds like Valor.
That's pretty
Anyway.
creative.
Yeah.
Have you got
somebody
a bit
else
of
talked
new?
to
Oh, you can say your bit of lore that you liked the most, unless it was just the fact that Nev exists.
Well, I mean, obviously, yes. Mine, I think, is more because I just saw your video on what the difference between lore and world building is, so now it's on my brain.
Nice
I think,
plug.
yep.
Check it out.
I think my favorite addition is more world building, and it's the Echo Spirit in the Hossberg Wetlands. That whole quest line is super freaking cool to me. And for anybody who doesn't know, the Echo quest line is in the well that's in the Hossberg Wetlands. When you go to check on the family, that very first Grey Warden gives you as a quest, there's an echo in the well, and if you interact with it enough and then cover it up, finish out that quest line, you can actually go find that echo spirit in the crossroads and fight it. And it's got some really cool lines of dialogue, and if you did interact with it, it'll speak in your rook's voice. It's a super cool quest line, and I think that not having an answer to it, like we don't know what that was or why it was here or like what manifested it. I think it felt very Dragon Age to me. And it's little moments like that I've really enjoyed about the game, because it doesn't feel overall like a good ending to the Dragon Age series if we do not get any more. But it had its moments, and that was one of them for me.
That was a really good one. Echo, what's your little bit of lore that you like added to the game?
Honestly, I think I'm the same as Briar, that it's just like mostly validation and vindication of just being right. Like a lot of it was like, oh, this is new information. Oh, we've been new.
No, I agree. It was great being vindicated for so many things.
Literally.
I like being told I'm right, so it was good. I genuinely enjoyed that.
Felsanis?
I mean, this is probably not going to surprise anyone, but just more elaboration on Felisan was my favorite. Like just him, because we knew nothing about him, I feel like, and now we know he was a general, which is pretty cool. That was like the complete opposite of what I had in mind for him, but I like it. And just like him being finally getting validation that him and Solus were close, which I really like.
I loved his like codexes throughout on notes that you found. The fact that
Oh,
their notes
I
drive
was
me insane.
hunting them down violently. Like I was all over them.
So good. I think for me, I really liked, again, confirmation on so many things. I was so smug. So smug. Pride demon right here. But I really liked getting the confirmation that spirits and demons could go back and forth, because there's the demon that you can give flowers to, and then it becomes a compassion spirit. And I'm like, yes. It's like when Solus tried to help his friend, obviously. So it was nice to get confirmation that they don't just die if they get corrupted. Yay! Because I freaking love spirits. Okay, so that was a question from Twitch. We'll take a question over from TikTok. From Moon Lily, do you think people would be confused by Veilguard if they didn't play the DLC for Inquisition? Anyone got? You can jump in with this one. I don't think we have to go through everyone.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like the people who may not have played the DLC from Inquisition are like such a small batch now, because you can only buy the Game of the Year version now, I think. And that one just automatically comes with Trespasser, which is the true ending, and all the other DLCs. So I think it's like a small number if people are like, I'm not playing the DLC, like, and those people, no offense, I don't particularly care about their opinion. If they're confused, that's on them. Yeah, and also people who haven't touched the games at all, jumping into Veilguard are fine. So I think they'll be able to like do the math, do the arithmetic if they're playing like an iota of attention, you know.
It's also hard to say, because we've all played that, and I'm sure we've all fed off the lore like fiends.
Give me one sec.
I don't know if we can answer that without not knowing, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
I'm sure there would be a little bit of like a...
Yeah, she said she'd be right back.
Sorry, my phone was dying. I just had to really quickly.
Oh, no worries.
Project.
That happened to
Mission
me
Impossible.
last Q&A. That happened to me. It was stressful.
Uh-oh.
Go on, Con. What were you saying?
I don't remember. What was I saying? Hold on. I'm sure that there would be like a little bit of confusion at first, but I think within the first few moments of the game, considering how much over exposition it does, they'd catch up real fast.
Yep, they really hammered that in there. Yeah, cool. Win Bago, says, if you could pick one character to make a cameo in Veilguard from the previous games, who would it be? Go on, Echo. You want to go first?
Fenris.
Yeah.
Next. Anyone else disagree?
Cole, Dragon Age.
Oh,
where are you? Where art my son? Where art thou?
So good. We're in the art book. God damn it.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't touch Cole because the risk of him dying and coming back is much more increased, obviously. So I'm like, that's my baby, and if anything happened to him, I'm not touching the Dragon Age series anymore. That's it.
Yeah, I think Cole and Fenris were my two big ones. I'd have loved Severin to appear, but I didn't feel like it was gonna happen the closer we got.
Yeah.
I was hopeful, but
I really thought the Butcher was going to be Severin. That little
I'm kind
meeting.
of
That's
they didn't touch those characters. To be fair, I'm kind of glad they just. My last memories of those characters are in their respective games. Like that's fine.
no, it's fair. I just Cole, there's a scene with Cole if you make him a spirit in the Shattered Library, and he talks about how he's not this like broken thing and how Solus would understand. And now I think of that line and I just want to weep. I love him.
Cole is so precious. I would do anything for Cole.
Yeah.
I need them to give me a Cole plush that I can hold.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Bryn asks, what are your favorite spirits? I'll go first. Wisdom, because that's what I like to do, is talk about the lore in the game and then tell people about it. And then when I get things right in the game, I get really proud. And I am a pride demon and wisdom spirit. I am so. I am.
Valid. Super valid.
Felasanis, what's your favorite spirit?
I gotta go with compassion.
How dare you steal my answer?
Sorry. I mean, Cole was just amazing. I loved him and how he speaks as well. How like compassion spirits speak is so satisfying. I love it. It almost reminds me of, I don't know if anyone played Vampire Masquerade, but they kind of speak like Malkavians almost, and I really enjoy it.
I have not. I want to play Vampire Masquerade, but it's one of the many things that's on
It's
the
good.
list.
It's just this like really detailed poetry. Like how they talk is like poetry. I just love it.
Yeah.
That and probably Spy, because I just love every word out of his mouth.
Oh, we needed so. I loved him. I loved him so much. Beanabees?
I really liked capacity, or was that, or command, depending on who you ask.
Yes.
But
Command, yeah.
Command. But I love Solus calling them pompous.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Or maybe you're that.
Right.
He's the cunty. I love a cunty little spirit. I think I think it was a really good example of how like the line between spirit and demon like blurs in a way, like because like man is kind of an asshole where like the softer spirits are like gentler and like that's what you expect, and like here it's like no, like spirit and demon, that line is really objective.
Wobbly.
So yeah, it's wobbly line. So I love command, and I love how bitchy they were to Solus. I love when anybody comes up to Solus and is a little bit bitchy, because it makes him bitchy into return. So I'm like, yes.
Give
So
me
I really
more
like
of it.
No, I love that too. It's so good. I love that entire interaction, especially if you've got Cole there as well. Sorry, there is someone being annoying in the chat, and I just need to block them.
Yeah, I saw that.
Ew.
Oh, which one? And Twitch or on TikTok?
Oh, it's always TikTok. It's never Twitch.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
not on the
TikTok,
TikTok
yeah.
one.
I'm not a
Like, I'm so nosy.
Go away.
What them like a fly. Eat them.
What a weird person. You're lame.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that. Use your own thumbs.
I have quite a few spirits that I like. Eulogy in Minrathis. Love that. Love that concept.
I've blocked them, so I'm hoping that'll do.
Hell.
Have you
There were
got
two.
Are you still here? Are you still here, Spirit Chill? I hope you're not. Excellent.
Excellent.
That's
okay,
not
spirit.
Apologies.
The demon that was in the Alluvian in Dragon Age 2, the one that ends up possessing Marathari. I can't remember what he was called. He was a demon of something. He had a name, but I don't remember what it was.
Is
And
this
there was a
choice,
third
or are
one.
we thinking about someone else?
No. Choice was Imshale.
Okay.
In Inquisition.
Oh, Inquisition. You said Dragon Age 2.
Yeah,
My
Dragon
bad.
Age 2.
Yeah.
No, the demon that was in it was like Vanity or something like that. I don't remember.
Mm.
And then I did really like the Spirit of Command.
Mm-hmm.
There was one other than that, but I don't remember what it was. It's fine. I'll think about it later.
I really like the Nightmare Demon. Spirits and demons are the same.
Oh
thing.
yeah.
But that was just
The
such...
Nightmare Demon had a hot voice, but
yeah,
you know.
he just read everyone for filth, and I really enjoyed it. It was just...
Yeah, and everybody's dirty laundry.
It's just so funny. But yeah, did I miss anyone? Sorry, I got distracted because I had to deal with nonsense. Did everyone say their favorite spirits? You said Compassion Echo.
Yes,
So
I did.
Yeah, I mean, I can continue on that if you want.
If you want to develop, go for it.
I mean, obviously, because Cole is my beloved little Pookie. He's actually my favorite Dragon Age character. It's not actually Solus. But my Inquisitor's dad is also a compassion spirit, so I just have a bit of a soft spot for them. They're like my little guys.
Oh, it didn't work. Are they still here? Oh, god damn it.
Original characters in the Dragon Age universe that were once spirits and have now become people are my favorite original characters. Like that,
It's
hands
so
down, I think they're the
good.
coolest concept.
There's just there's so many like facets you can do with it, and like so much to explore with that idea. I didn't actually do that much though, because he isn't around, so
Fair enough.
me giving OC parents, no.
Sorry, I
That
got well lost in
that.
the TikTok chat because
Lost
one
in the
person
sauce.
spamming and I got really confused. But we got a question in Twitch, so we'll do that. From Dreadwolf Chan, question: what sorts of I clicked on the message. What sort of things would you change to make Veilguard staying up? Okay, okay. What for the Veilguard to work better for you? What sort of thing would you like to change? Please keep the answer to less than 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Now we're gonna make
Is that the whole? Yeah, is that the
like,
direction of the?
What sort of things would you like to change to make the veil? Oh no, to make the veil staying up work. I thought it was Veilguard.
Okay.
I was
did
like,
see that
to make
question
the
very
entire
clearly.
game work.
All right.
I was like, okay.
No, we got it, Dreadwolf Chan.
Okay, so the question is, what would I change about the game to make the veil staying up?
Work for you.
Better for you.
Oh, I feel
So,
like I've talked about
the
this
veil
before.
is up. The veil
Mhm.
stays
Yeah.
up. Oh yeah, I didn't tell people there were spoilers in this.
Oh yeah, we are.
Well, it's
Skill
a
issue.
Veilguard Q&A.
Anyway, so I mean, I'm gonna be straight up honest about the veil staying up and how they could have made that work. They couldn't have done it in Veilguard because they needed to have established it better in the previous games. That it was not gonna come down. I feel so bad for Sandal. So bad. Who's gonna tell him? Who's gonna tell Sandal that
Who's gonna tell Sandal?
That just makes me sad.
I don't really. I didn't think it was gonna stay up either. Honestly, I really didn't.
I thought they'd make it like a bit more. I did a whole like membrane video with like spirit gates and how it like the magic could come back slowly, and it was like, nope, throw that away. Coward. Does anyone actually have an answer for the question?
Honestly, I don't know. Maybe if they just mentioned more of what would happen if the veil came down in Veilguard, like rather than it's just going to be demons. Like that seemed to be what they were really hammering in. But maybe mentioning what would have happened to spirits. But I didn't really have an issue with it staying up. But I'm probably the one here who had like the least issues with Veilguard. I'm like, I enjoyed it. It's good. So
It's good.
But yeah, I think just tying it in a bit more would have been better.
Briar, have you got thoughts? Oh, Bean.
Yeah, I was I'm like tear down that wall. Very much in that camp. But as the game approached, I'm like, that is not gonna happen, and now it better not happen, cause my man
He's tied to it. Yeah.
leave him be. That if it didn't come down now, it ain't never coming down.
Mhm.
You leave that shit alone.
Agreed.
I
Agreed.
swear to
Could not
God.
agree more.
I
Don't touch
swear to
it.
God. Don't touch it. Don't look at it. Don't flick it. Don't even sneeze near it. Okay. Yeah, but I think I talked about this briefly in one of my videos, like talking about the Evanuris. And I think maybe like emphasizing like the veil not being like the original problem that Solus like thinks it is.
Mhm.
Like how much like the fade is sort of like a reflection of like how people like envision it, and the veil is being imagined as like, because a veil, you can lift it up and lift it down, but like the way that like Solus treats it, or it's treated in this world, is sort of like more so like a wall between this, that, and the other thing. But like um maybe exploring like how you view something changes the nature of it, I
Mhm.
think would have been interesting. Or maybe having like the Evanuris like not be present anymore, making the veil more flexible, that it does not have to be like completely torn down, and existing more in that gray.
Mhm.
But that's me on copium, because I really want to
No, I
down.
agree.
And I feel like any explanation doesn't really work, like with what you said, Sarah, about like world building up into this point has suggested that that is like the natural conclusion of things. So yeah, I feel like any explanation is just like a poor man's solution. But yeah, there were ways to make it work a little bit better, but still it's a little bit better.
I
I'm
do wish that, like, because they had the whole drowning the world in demons thing, and then Solus says that only thousands of people were going to die, and then if they could be just consistent and stop using the demon thing. I needed a better explanation as the drowning the world in demons, because what does
Mhm.
that mean? What, just of course let them be spirits, but because you've got
Yeah.
Eric then saying that spirits, like correcting your Mon Watch Rook for saying demon instead of spirit, and it's like, so they're just not even consistent with their own. Like, if they could just be more consistent on the threat, that would have been a bit better for me to swallow. But they did a bunch of games setting up how spirits are like not that bad, so it just felt mean. Like,
Yeah.
it just
They
felt
could have
mean.
they could have done more with like the wild magic aspect that they
mhm.
brought into it too, not just confining that to Owlsland
Yeah.
Forest. Because that was really fun. I really enjoyed the wild magic.
Some of
Shit just
that's
going
actually
crazy.
really good in the Vows and Vengeance podcast as well. Like some of the stuff that was coming out of that, with the world being, I thought, yeah, the world isn't right. Things are going wrong. Maybe Solus isn't doing the right thing. And then yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how canon Vows and Vengeance is that because there's a lot in it that just no longer makes sense now that I've played Veilguard, and I'm like, oh, but it was fun.
The fact
So
there's another random character called Elio in it was really funny.
yeah,
Sorry. Unless anyone's got any other comments, I will move on to the next question.
Mm-mm.
DA asks, which companion surprised y'all the most? Felisanis, do you want to go first?
I'm sorry. Can
Which
you
one
repeat the
surprised
question?
me the most?
Can
The
you, can you,
question was, which companion surprised you the most?
surprised you the most? Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't hear the surprise. Go ahead. Sorry.
No.
I just needed to think.
Honestly, Emmerich surprised me because I kind of assumed he would be one thing, and then he turned out to be this sweet, compassionate older man. Like, it would have been so easy to make him this kind of like edgy, grumpy old man, because he's a necromancer. My phone's slipping. I'm surrounded by death and all that, so it would have been super easy to just make him a more darker character. But instead, they went this route where they made him, no, he's kind, he's compassionate, and I just think it's a nice juxtaposition to his career path almost.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it was a nice switch up from what I expected.
No, I really really liked Emmerich
But
and how he came across. I
yeah,
think that like his softer side really was really, yeah, it was really sweet. It was really nice
yeah.
to see. Uh, Echo.
Honestly, I don't know that any of them really surprised me. I kind of avoided a lot of the promo stuff, so I didn't really have much to go off of going into the game other than just like their looks. And I didn't really put any stock into that. I wanted to answer Varric, but I was like, maybe I won't. But I did.
Too soon. Too soon. Knew immediately. Con?
Lucana surprised me, and mostly just because of the way that they marketed him. I thought he was going to be edgier and darker than he was in game, because I knew that. So I had read all of Tevinter Nights. I had not read what is it, Eight Little Talons or something like that until after Veilguard came out. But I had read most of the extra media about him, and I knew what his personality was supposed to be, but I had zero faith that they were actually going to follow through on that, exclusively because of the marketing. The way that they marketed him was almost identical to the way that they marketed Fenris, and so I thought he was going to be overly broody compared to what his actual
Mhm.
characterization was. So I was very pleasantly surprised that he retained a lot of his core characteristics. I have many complaints about his romance. I have many complaints about his relationship with Katarina and Ilario and the Crows in general. I think we have all discussed that at length on TikTok. But I was pleasantly surprised by his actual characterization. And Nev, I was very pleasantly surprised by obviously, by Nev, because as we know, BioWare has a tendency to just completely ignore and vilify their characters of color. And so I was fully expecting for Nev to be the bitter, disillusioned detective, not the I am literally dedicating my entire life to saving this place because I love it so much and I have such compassion for its people detective, So I was very pleasantly surprised with her, especially her quest. It's not a decision really of whether or not you should be bitter and disillusioned versus hopeful. It's whether or not you should be you know inspirational versus protective, and I like that very distinct positive connotation.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Beanie Bees?
The character that surprised me, I have like two answers. There's a character that surprised me in like a bad way, and then there's a character that surprised me in like a good way. Balara, I wasn't like a huge fan of Balara. I kept them for like Act 1 through 2. I was like, girl, you got to stand up or something, please, God. And then she did. I have never been so hyped to see someone sit in a chair. Not since House of the Dragon have I been so excited to see someone go sit in a chair. I think I have a friend in chat who was there when I was playing that part where I was like, "You go, boy!" As I watch it, yeah, she became a favorite. As I replay it, I'm like, "That's my girl for real." I'm sorry I didn't fuck with you at the beginning. I love you bad. Yeah. But someone surprised me in a bad way was Harding.
Okay.
I didn't like Harding. I did not care for Harding, though I have not said that publicly because I'm afraid I'm going to get jumped. Harding was pissing me off for most of the game. When I was in the Fade prison, I saw her statue. I was like, "Oh, very sad." Anyway, I was really, well, I'm glad I didn't send Davin that way. Yeah, it was very disappointing because Harding was the one I was really excited for. But I'm like, what is going on with this characterization? So I was very surprised
Mhm.
with the direction it went with Harding because it just felt like her character arc belonged to Dagna and not Harding.
Yes,
And
yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
and and I was like, this does not feel like Harding's story. It
no,
felt like a
yeah.
very strange direction to go with her. And now that I'm playing it a second time, with the rare reveal knowledge in my back pocket, I do have a softer image because it's interesting because we're playing with a hardened character without knowing that they're hardened. And I think
Uh-huh.
that's interesting.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Um, So I have more complex feelings about Harding as I'm playing this second time too, because I'm like, oh, you're actively grieving, and this is why you're kind of being an asshole, and I didn't realize that the first time. But yeah, so I still have complicated feelings about Harding, but the first playing through, I didn't do her quest until like the end, because I'm like, I don't. She stayed in the lighthouse after I started getting new companions, but yeah, so she surprised me because I'm like, I did not expect to have such complicated negative feelings toward a character I was really excited about seeing.
I was
Yeah.
really intrigued by Harding, and especially with like the whole after talking to her after
Mhm.
finding out about Varric, the way that she
Mhm.
deals with grief is actually a really interesting parallel to how Solus deals with his grief, because he doesn't he focuses on the next
Straight up
task.
does not.
Mhm.
That's it. That's how he deals with his issues, which is the problem because his next task keeps failing. So there's something else that he has to do, and something else he has to do, and something else he has to do. And Harding felt very similar in that. But again, it wasn't developed
Mhm.
enough. It was just a little thread that I was noticed at the start, and then I was like, oh, that's cool. And then it was like, oh, it doesn't go anywhere. Oh, okay.
I do fully agree with the Dagna comment though, because I mean, like, Dagna started her journey in Orzammar, right? I mean, like, that's where we first meet her in Origins, and then we see her again in Inquisition as this fabulous inventor who's constantly dealing with the you know, the Fade bullshit and the Titan bullshit and the artifacts that they're trying to, like, I fully agree. I fully agree that it felt more like a storyline for Dagna. And I think that a lot of Harding's main concerns and main focuses were just completely left unaddressed. I mean, like, Ferelden
Mhm.
gets nuked and Harding barely bats an eye. And that's like her
Yeah.
home. She's never really had a connection to the dwarves. She's Ferelden. I mean, her and
Mhm.
Lorelei bond over it in Minrathous. So I yeah, fully agree. I like Harding. I appreciate
Mhm.
her story and the journey that she goes through, and especially because of, you know, what the blight is, being the severed Titan streams. She had every right to crash out. That's not the problem. It just
Mhm.
felt a little bit uh off theme, you know?
I think one of the things that I
Mhm.
was hoping for with Harding is because she is a scout, and I think that tied really closely to what I was expecting the Titans like use the dwarves for before, and the whole like they were
Mm-hmm.
kind of their eyes and connection to the world. So the thing of being a true dwarf, being this connection of being actually closer to the stone, was actually
Mm-hmm.
further away from what the original dwarves were. So I was hoping we'd get a bit more like of that and that connection to the Titans and how that interaction worked, because we got a bit of that with Volta, and then that kind of never went anywhere. But because I thought the whole like scout thing, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I can
Mm-hmm.
see where this is going, and then it didn't, and I was sad.
And then it didn't go there, yeah.
As always. Did I? Oh, me. It's a character that surprised me. I was going into this game, I was kind of done with Grey Wardens, I've got to be completely honest. And so Davrin was a pleasant, pleasant surprise. He made me want to be a Grey Warden again. Though, and the whole survivor's guilt, and how I didn't even consider how that would apply to, like, my warden who had done the ritual, and seeing like that I thought was actually handled really well. Davrin, romancing him now. Yes, I thought he was really done really well, and I really liked him. But yeah, that was good.
There's a question. Wait, did everybody talk about their surprise characters?
Yes, I think so.
I
Okay.
believe so.
There's a question in the Twitch chat that I really want to talk about. Well, it's not a question, but I'm turning it into a question. Uh, Gabrielle Morley says, "Yeah, same. I'm still sad we didn't get an Awakened companion. I feel like that could have been such a unique thing for us to experience. I think we're going to get an Awakened companion. Obviously, spoilers for the end of the game. I think that whoever dies in Gillanane's fight, whether it's Davrin or Harding, I think that they are going to come back as an Awakened Darkspawn. There's
That
no
would be
body,
incredible.
and
That would be
and
incredible. That would
yeah,
be incredible.
I
If
I think that is a distinct possibility. I obviously can't say it's going to happen, but it would be interesting. And they have wanted to have an awakened companion for literal decades now. So I mean, like, it would be a good opportunity. I'm just saying.
Every
Oh my
time
god.
I was convinced that Asaya was gonna be the architect for like the longest time, or at least one of the Cinderella, the magisters that pierce the veil. I was convinced it was because
Mhm.
they could control the darkspawn. I was like, why could Asaya control darkspawn? I didn't understand that, but I was like, where did that come from? Anyway, but yeah, I was convinced. I was like, architect, no, architect, no, architect, no. It was so. Ah, I love that.
You are
I was
so
convinced. Oh,
delightful.
sorry.
Mm?
No, you
No,
go.
I was about to say you guys are really optimistic that we're getting anything after this, and I
Yeah,
appreciate that
no, I'm on
optimism.
that
I
boat.
I will
have to
not
be.
be at the club. I will not be at the club. I will be on AO3 as I've stated before. I've have fun. I doubt. But that's my opinion. I doubt we're getting anything. I
I have to
don't
be
think we're getting another
optimistic about
game.
it. Because if I'm not optimistic about getting another game, then this game severely disappoints me. I have said it a cajillion
Mhm,
times. It's a good beginning. It is not a
mhm,
good ending, and I don't want this to be the end because there's so much left to wrap up. I would love
mhm.
another game.
I
That's all.
suppose that's all on EA, and that's where my
Yeah.
faith wavers. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, trust EA.
Yeah.
I have so
Yeah.
many mixed feelings, about another game because I'm so scared. Like my entire going into this game, I had one thing: that this freaking man had to live. That's all I cared about.
Yeah, like we're done now. We're good.
Yeah.
Literally, I
Yeah.
know I should care about more things. I don't. Sue me. So the fact that he's okay, I'm like, I don't. Okay, I'm kind of done. Put it in comics. Put it in comics. That'd be great.
I agree. I got what I wanted from Veilguard. Whatever happens next, I'm fine. I got Felasan. I got my soulless conclusion.
Yeah.
We can leave it there.
I've got
My
enough
whole
threads
special
to fix
interest
it.
is elves. So, like, I'm like, oh, we're done with elves? Okay, I'm done too.
All right.
Yeah, literally.
Oh, there's so much of the world that I do love, and I've been going into the executor stuff, and I found like little videos and little things, and I've got excited about, but it doesn't feel the same as when I was looking into the Evanera stuff. It's just not the same.
I wish they'd done
Yeah.
more with the Avenoras. Like, just in, like, little
Yeah.
codex entries. Just please.
Well, we
I
do have
need
a
my little
question.
lore fixes.
We do have a question from Celrella that talks about the discussion between Solus and Mythal's relationship, and
Oh.
I'm gonna edit the question a little bit to say, was it surprising to you how the game handled their relationship?
Was it
Yes.
surprising?
If you would like to plead,
Disappointing.
if you would like to plead the fifth, Steve.
Surprising. They
Does it-
handled it just as bad as I thought they.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Surprising? No, not
No.
even remotely.
I
But
think they just dropped the ball with Mythal entirely. So
yes,
Mhm.
100%,
They did.
100%.
God, yeah.
Her storyline is not even remotely what they set it up to be. Like, you know that somewhere in the development hell and the 3 different cycles this game went through, Mythal's story got pushed to the wayside. She's not the character they made.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Where is this retribution I was promised? Like,
exactly.
I need it.
Vengeance.
I mean, retribution. I
fixing that.
googled the different definition of retribution today because I was getting annoyed about it again. And it's literally described as vengeance for a wrong act. So, but again, the definition of what is wrong is up to debate. So, retribution and vengeance are pretty much synonyms of each other. They just didn't want to use the word vengeance because of the
Yeah.
connotation to mages from Dragon Age 2.
Mhm.
So
Honestly, the fact that they made her a spirit of, like, what, benevolence or whatever, when she could have just been justice to vengeance, because that would have been a great parallel to use for Manda's. And I thought that's where they were building up to. And then there's like, no, actually, we're not.
cowards.
Benevolence, my ass. I've never been so pissed off listening to a line of dialogue. I had to pause the game and pace my room. Benevolence?
Oh, what's that?
Where benevolence? Where? Bitch, where?
The line that got me was the world the elves love. I was like, are those elves in this room with us right now, Mythal? What the
Right.
fuck are you talking about, Morrigan? I'm
Vanessa,
sorry. You
where
were
are
in
they?
Denerim. You saw the orphanage, Morrigan. Why are you talking?
Mythal, I'll get justice for you. Cause like I hate Mythal, but I love to hate Mythal,
Mm.
and they just made me hate Mythal in this game instead of love to hate her. And that made me like, and then having to go online and people being like, "Oh, but Mythal loves Solus." I don't give a I don't care.
Stop.
The lack of care that people had for the abusive
Stop.
relationship that those two had, it
Mm.
was like insane, and it wasn't sensitively handled by the fandom because he's a man. And if
Literally,
Mhm.
I've made like 2 posts about it, just like pointing things out, and it's like, oh, Solus was not an abuse him, and then I just show the picture of Solus when he sees Mythal at the ending. Like, are you kidding me? The man named Pride is drinking away from Mythal.
Yeah.
It's
I've
the
talked
mm, mm.
no.
It's a very valid interpretation,
It
and
is.
people just
Yeah.
do not want to do
There's
it.
a lot of discussions around in the fandom
Mhm.
space. I've had to do a couple of videos to remind people, like, people have opinions. They're allowed to be different to yours. Let's be kind to each
Yeah.
other. And it's just not great. It's
I
just.
think I think I've talked about this before when talking about like when people were having this is like last year when people having debates again about Solus being racist and things like that. And for the chat, my background is in diversity, equity, and inclusion education. That's what I do. I do adult education mainly. And adults, one thing about them is they're stuck in their ways. They're really hard to teach because they believe what they believe and they're very headstrong and stubborn. Oftentimes, when you're talking about like things like diversity, equity, and inclusion, using words like abusive or racist or sexist, these are big, big red flag words, right? People will react really strongly to those words. So if you are wanting to be communicative and like effectively communicating your ideas, it's more important to describe what you are talking about rather than use the word like abusive. Like when I'm talking about Mythal and Solus, I tend to not use that word. Like I've talked about this on Twitter a lot. Like the point of the Mythal and Solus dynamic is the fact that it was just not good. It was unhealthy. It was something that Solus needed
Mhm.
to overcome. And that is the main takeaway. Whatever that relationship was, it was not good for either of them,
Mhm.
or the world at large. And I'm like, that is the main takeaway, that the relationship was really complicated and it crossed all these lines. Like, yes, it was mother and son, it was friendship, it was maybe a little bit romantic, maybe a little bit sexual. We don't know. It's that crossing of lines and boundaries that made it really unhealthy. And that is the point, and that is the takeaway. And us going back and forth, arguing about a word and which is really triggering for a lot of
Mhm.
people who have been through like domestic abuse and being really nasty to each other over that does nothing. We can have these conversations and be
Mhm.
have different opinions about them without like triggering people over something that's like an actually a really sensitive topic.
Mhm.
But I don't know how you could look at
Yeah.
Solus bent over a man whose name means stand tall, as Felisana said, and then say that like that is the ideal dynamic for him versus how he's interacting with like a romance Llewellyn. The parallels are being drawn very clearly in that scene. Um, uh, like Mythal is all over his regret murals. Llewellyn is not in a single one of them.
Yep.
I think that is
Mhm.
you should you that those are things you should notice in the game that's
Yep.
being very made very clear.
And
Forgive me,
I
I'm gonna come up
also
with my box now.
no,
You're
you're
right.
totally
You're
fine.
right. You're right.
This is
I
the point,
agree.
is for us to have our
100%.
boxes. And I really agree with what Dreadwolf-chan put in the chat, in response to
Mm,
somebody else questioning why it was left so vague. The weirdly defined nature of the relationship contributed to the toxicity, exactly like
yeah.
they said. It's the fact that there wasn't a very clear, yeah, they were fucking, or like, can I say that on here? Anyway,
well,
Yeah.
you already have.
um,
I swear all the fucking
Tosh
Do it
time.
now.
did.
I
all
swear
So
right, yeah,
all
yeah,
the
fair
fucking
enough. Yeah,
time.
yeah, fair enough. Like just because there wasn't a, hard and fast, yes, this was the nature of their relationship, is one of the parts that should clue you into this is bad. None of this is good, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
So I fully agree there.
Anyone got anything else they want to add, or should I move on to the next question?
I had a thought, but it disappeared at some point, so I don't know anymore.
Well, I'm gonna go over to TikTok for a question. Hey Curio, how many of the original elves you think there's still walking around at this point? Oh, so ancient elves like Abelas that we see in Inquisition, do we think that there's more of them walking around at this point?
Probably.
Maybe. I'm guessing so. But
Yeah.
they didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot badge pull because BioWare are cowards.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
I was
they.
gonna say,
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh god. I think that whether or not they exist probably won't ever be talked about again. So if they do, put it in your fanfic. You know, I
Yeah.
Literally.
don't think that we're gonna get anything else on the ancient elves, which like nothing tremendous, which does disappoint me a little bit.
Well, I was just gonna say I'm glad they didn't bring Abelas back because I have such a solid picture of
Yeah.
him that they would have ruined it. I've given that man a
Yeah.
backstory. He's not yours anymore, BioWare. He's mine.
He's not yours anymore.
He's just your OC now.
Yeah, I'm literally my run that I'm doing right now is me playing Abelas, romancing Harding. It's a very cute pairing. 10 out of 10.
Has
I'm
anyone
so
got
sorry.
anything else to add to the ancient elves discussion, or I can move on to the next question? I will stick on TikTok for now because I feel like I've been.
I mean, I imagine if there are some, they're very few, just because they're either in Uthanara asleep or, I mean, thousands of years is a very long time. It's hard to imagine they've been wandering around for thousands of times, and they're probably dead because Thedas is not the safest place in the world. So if they
Especially
are
for
still up
elves.
and about, they're either conked out asleep or they're very rare.
I need to use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back.
Go for it. What question would you ask your favorite companion that isn't addressed in the game? Is from Wonderful Wicked. Oh god. Anyone? I'm not gonna put anyone on the spot. If anyone's got something, go.
Davrin, what is your last name? Please tell me what's your last name quickly before you go.
They're such bastards.
Oh my
They're such
God.
bastards. Why did they not give a last name?
What's
Sorry.
your Rook's last name? Just there you go. That's it now.
Get married.
Yeah.
He takes her name. Or his name. Their name.
But it is a trope of Black characters not being given a last name. So it bothers me when it shows up. It's very common. Black character will not be given a last name. So they just have to go by like Davrin, Dragon Age, or whatever. Like same thing happened with Finn in Star Wars. It's very common. So it bothers me whenever I'm like, are we ever gonna learn Davrin's last name? No. Everyone else gets an origin, a place of belonging.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's very so I was like, I need to know this man's last name and him
his
to go
uncle?
visit.
Does his uncle have a last name?
I don't think so, but I also like, is that his actual uncle? I know genetics are weird in this universe.
I
but
know that with elves and like clans, they usually just use the clan as their last name. So I was wondering if he has a last name, would it be the clan name?
It would have been really interesting if it was like his clan was his last name, but because he left the clan to go and be a Grey Warden, he decided to like not use that name anymore. They could have even done like a reason, but they just didn't. Again, they just didn't.
Yeah, no, you have to just make it up yourself now. No,
that's
but also I believe in canon, like you only like the clan name is your last name if you are a descendant of the keeper, but you have your own last name and then the clan. So it'd be like blank blank of clan XYZ. But like when you, it's kind of like when like people from another country come here, like, you know, like in like I think in Japan, it's like reversed the names, like the last name comes first and the first name. And when they come over here, they just have to switch it around. I think it's kind of like that where like you just go by your clan name as your last name.
I'm gonna need to write this down.
Yeah, so like that's like so like I don't think that Davrin is like a keeper's son, even though that would be interesting. So he has to have a last name and a clan, and we get neither of those things. His clan name is never mentioned. I've been scouring to find anything, and he just doesn't have one. I've given him
It's like
one.
they couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, they couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can't even go with the like De La Shelves not having last names because Balara has a last name.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
That's.
Yeah. That's what I would ask him, sir. Please.
What is your last name? Has anyone else got a question that they'd ask a companion?
I'd have to think about this one.
This
I think
hard,
for a little bit more than like 5 seconds.
I'm like, what flavor of tea does Manfred serve Emmerich? Like, does that actually come up, or is it just tea all the time? I feel like he's another man who wouldn't drink caffeine because of like the fade and spirits and stuff. So that's the only thing that came into my head. Con, the question was, what question would you ask your companion in the game that isn't addressed in the game? I mean, there's so many things that aren't addressed in the game. I just can't think of things at the top of my
Yeah.
head.
Where do I begin?
Why didn't any of you bring up?
Why didn't you invite Rook to book club, you bastards?
Yeah.
Rook can't read. Why would
Rook
he be
can't
there?
read.
Rook can't swim. Rook can't read. What can Rook do?
Yeah.
Certainly not Trick the Dreadwolf. That didn't happen.
So yeah, certainly not. That's
No.
it. That's neither here nor there.
They can just piss off gods. That's Rook's main talent.
Well,
Okay, let me.
Yeah, I think I would just ask Nev, like, hey, beautiful, my love, why didn't you tell me that I was talking to nothing?
Yeah, right? Like, where was that
What have been
conversation?
helpful?
Yeah, I don't
No,
know. I
see,
don't think.
I don't agree that Rook doesn't earn their role. I fully disagree with that. I think they earn their role eventually.
Mhm.
Because they work for it. They boy, do they work for it. But I it's one of the criticisms I don't fully agree with, that Rook shouldn't have been the protagonist. I see the reasons why somebody would feel that way, but I don't think I agree. And I think I'm going to leave it at that, actually.
But why would people join with this rando who can't swim? That's such a funny thing to say.
Right, valid.
Look, they
Sorry,
don't need to
that got
swim.
me.
I think it has to do
It's fine.
with. I think I should probably stop talking back and forth with a single commenter. That's not how you're supposed to stream.
No, it's like a thread of like it's a conversation. It's fine.
Right. I don't know. I just think I think it makes perfect sense that everybody accepts Rook's leadership, for one, because in that first scene it's Rook's idea, and they all just kind of like. Varric establishes Rook as his second in command. So in the beginning, it is his association with Varric and the respect that Harding and assumingly Nev have for him. In the structure of this group they're putting together, Rook is established as number 2. And then Varric is no longer in the picture, and Rook does step up. They start saying, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, let's go do it. They're a little bit less forceful than I'd like them to be. But they step into their role, and they are constantly questioning how they can be better at leadership and things like that. So I don't think that it doesn't make sense, because Rook is who seeks out all of these people. Rook goes to the Lords of Fortune for Tosh. Rook, goes to the Necropolis for Emmerich, and essentially proves themselves in that opening mission by helping them accomplish something that they want. So I think it makes
Rook reminds me of me at work when it's like, I'm not in charge, but I tend to be the one who gets stuff done because someone needs to stand up and do it, which is very funny because that's kind of said in Inquisition when you talk to Ironbow, and it's like, well, I'll just do it. Like, leader doesn't need to be a leader because they're like in a certain hierarchy. It's the person who stands up and does that thing. And Harding probably isn't in the space to lead, to be honest, with everything that we now know. So it kind of makes sense that Rook is just like, well, we're on it.
Yeah.
And I like how Rook kind of struggles with the leadership role as well. Like, it's a very realistic depiction of having this role thrust upon you. Like, they constantly ask questions like, am I right for this role? When they're talking to Varric, asking if, am I doing it right? Like, trying to get input. They struggle with this new responsibility, wherein Inquisition, I feel like, didn't do enough of that, because it's a pretty big role the Inquisitor takes on, and it's an even bigger one that Rook takes on because the apocalypse is coming. So I like how they struggle with it. It's very humanizing to Rook.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And it
I
fits
wish
the
other
portrayal
people-
that they. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I wish other people like NPCs or companions struggled with Rook being in charge. Because it
Mhm,
makes sense, like,
mhm.
Rook
Yeah.
being in that friend group, and, like, it makes sense why the Veilguard would hand over leadership to Rook, right? It's very,
Right.
like, interpersonal thing. Because when you're in a friend group and you're the one who decides where people are going to eat for go to dinner, like, you become, like, the default sort of, like, pseudo leader of the friend group, even though you have no business. You're just the person who's like, "Fuck it, we're going to XYZ place for dinner."
Mhm.
Yeah.
But, like, and that's fine in your friend group, but it also comes to, like that question that Solus asked, "Why are you the best person for this job?" Because Rook isn't the best person for the job
Mm-mm.
by
No.
any stretch of the
No.
imagination,
Right,
and
right.
I wish there was more people outside of it being I really liked at the beginning of the game, like, that, Madman Against the World thing with the warden, where the warden's like, "What I'm arresting you. You sound
Yep,
Yeah,
insane."
that was
yep.
really good. I really
I
Reasonable
enjoyed that.
reaction.
yeah, I really wish there was more people looking at him like,
I was
"Look."
expecting that more pushback
Yeah,
from the factions. I thought we'd have to
yeah.
earn that with the strength, but
Mhm,
we
Yeah.
mhm.
didn't.
No, just
Mm.
kind of handed
No,
over.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, well, I think that would have made, like, it because, like, I see, like, Rook interpersonally, like, I believe that Rook struggles with it, but, like,
Mhm.
everyone's just like, "No, Rook, you're doing so
You're
good," and I'm like,
fine, yeah. Why does
Yeah.
nobody call Rook
no,
out? Yeah.
yeah, Rook actually fucks up
I
quite a
I
bit,
They make a lot of
Mhm.
Yeah,
boo-boos,
and I
but that's
remember,
okay.
like,
Mhm.
well, when they were advertising it, didn't one of the devs say something like, "The game is about, like, taking power when no one else is willing to do like, when no one else is willing to take charge to solve the problem, it's up to you." But
Mhm.
everyone's so cooperative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I wish there was
everyone
more
seems
respect.
on top of everything, actually, so I don't understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel
yeah,
like we should have earned the factions, the
The
warden,
Grey
he
Wardens, yeah.
threatens to lock us up. Reasonable
Mhm,
reaction to what Rook was saying. You know, the ancient elven gods are back. You're a crazy person. You need to get locked
Mhm.
up.
mhm.
Everyone else is just like, yeah, reasonable. We'll
I
we'll
guess
we'll, we'll
yeah,
it
go
made
along with it.
sense. It made sense with like Isabella because like Isabella and Varric probably have spoken to each other. So Lords of Fortune were so
Yes.
underdeveloped anyway. That one can go. But like yeah, the rest of them, yeah.
The only
What do
one
you
that
Like
even
think?
said
Dentive
he
and Crows. What what business do they have in saving the world?
I don't.
Realistically, that's not. But then again, I could go on about how they portrayed the crows in general. But
Can
like,
can
Yeah.
I can I circle back to some of the questions in the chat unless anyone's
yeah.
got anything else they want to add on the phone? So Oliver, I have no idea when you asked this when you said you could only stay for a little bit. Hopefully you're still here. I want to know how do y'all feel about the blight, angry Titan dreams, and how it's supposedly cured slash soothed now. What do you see for a potential next game? So let's go with the blight and the angry Titan dreams. I struggled with how that worked in a literal sense for a while, but
yeah,
I,
I don't know. Yeah.
I think I've got in my head how this works because I just needed an answer in my head. Is that the Shapers of the Earth are the Titans. The disconnected dreams are kind of it's the soul because we use the soul to go through the fade. Is in a codex with Emmerich. So the difference between a spirit and a soul is the soul is like when you're your warden walking through origins through the fade. That is actually the warden's soul. So that is a physical thing that is in the fade. And so the blight is that physical thing that's then trapped. So it
Mhm,
kind of makes sense that that then gets mad, gets corrupted, just like we see spirits. And because it is from the Titans, which are shapers and creators of the world, that becomes its own twisted force for creation, which is why Gillanane's so attracted to it. And I thought that that was really interesting. Again, not clear. I think that's how it works.
Mhm.
And I want to write World of Thedas Volume 3. Please, just put me on the writing team.
I think you should write World of Thedas Volume 3.
I just need to make
Mm.
this work in my head. How it's soothed or cured, I believe, in my opinion, was probably a bullshit line they put at the end of it to give Solus something to do. But I don't know if we're actually going to see any effect of that. I don't know. I don't think it is cured. I don't regard anything that is not in the game as a source material. So Epler can keep his comments to himself. And anyone got anything they want to add to that?
Um, yeah, I'm not a lore person. I usually don't care about how something works, really, like on a technical sense.
Mhm.
I usually care more about like what it's narratively trying to say, and I feel like the stuff with the Titans and the Blight brings me to the same issues I have with the elves, where these people, a room that's mainly full of white people, are writing stories about indigeneity, and the severance from one's culture, and handling it horribly. um uh, and embodying it in essentially white people, like that, like Harding being white and having this reconnection with like the land and things like that. I mean, I guess white people have culture
Mhm.
as well, but it's like very much like, and then putting it against elven people, which are also like very clearly like in an indigenous like allegory, felt bad and wrong. Like they're trying to like make it seem like elves have some like, instead of like understanding that, like, I don't know. It bothered me with the way that was handled at
The amount
all.
of
But
times you
like,
can apologize for being an elf, you know?
yeah,
Like,
like what the
Yeah.
fuck? And it's so bizarre. And it's so strange. Yeah, and it frustrated me because I think there's something really beautiful about like, or a story about people who have been severed from like their history and culture, and then it becomes like sort of like a bit like monsters, like how like a land is kind of cursed. Like I'm from America, our land is so cursed just because of all the horrible shit that happened on it, and the land remembers and the land keeps score. And I think there is something wonderfully to explore a story like that. The people who were exploring it, okay, Christopher Columbus, put down, like and handled in a way that was like messy, sloppily done, and then like abandoned. I think that's also my issue
mhm,
with it. Like both
Mhm.
the elven and dwarven stories that they were going with that were abandoned, where like you're getting dialogue where like this is just, lyrium that's angry, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like I had assumed it was already angry and that's how it got here in the first place. So it's more angry? What does that
Mm.
mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's just very clear, like these are people like hitting on an idea and then being like, I don't really know how to execute this, and then
right.
abandoning it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And
having
so
Yeah.
that's
no
my
real
issue with
world
it.
experience
Yeah,
with it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. Um.
Yeah, fully.
Mhm. I agree. Nightmare.
Mhm.
Anyone got anything else they want to add before I move on to the next question?
I don't think that it is cured. I think that's the incorrect adjective or verb to
Mm.
use. I think soothed is much more accurate. Um, I as the optimist here, if we get another game, I think that they're gonna have to figure out how to reverse the essential tranquility of the Titans. Um, I think that that would be an interesting decision to make, almost like the Rachni decision in Mass Effect, if you're
Mm.
familiar, where you
Mhm.
can decide if you're going to wipe out this last remainder of the of this species, or if you're going to let her go, let her repopulate. I think that would be an interesting decision to get to make. I don't think they're brave enough to do something like that again. I think Mass Effect was a unique one-off in that aspect, but I think it'd be interesting.
Oh,
Should you cure the Titans or should you leave them tranquil?
now you just said about the Arachnite. Doesn't that also have a song? What is it with BioWare games having random songs throughout the thing? Sorry, it just made me think. Fucking, they have one idea. Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's one brain cell that bounces amongst them.
Honestly, that's like the fandom too, though, at times.
Yeah, for real though.
Well, someone did say, and another question was talking about going on to the next games. Was Alia asked on TikTok, what speculation do you have on Dragon Age 5? I want
Oh god.
Canary stuff. I would love more Canary stuff, and I do think, okay, I have a whole theory about Morrigan and Mythal using the power of dragons to combat the devouring storm, and how she's been collecting the souls of dragons this entire time since the Silent Grove comics. And I'm like, because this is where I am
Right.
in my world. This is what I do in my free time. It's not fun. And
You said I hate it here.
just can't get
Let me out.
my brain won't stop. I just start looking at what Mathal's going to be doing next. I'd rather do anything else, to be honest. But I'm really convinced that Morrigan isn't done, her story isn't done, and that there is a connection to why. And I think that the dragon souls were kind of important for the archdemon stuff, so it might actually tie in and have make a difference to the earlier games. Maybe.
Mhm.
Now who's the optimist?
I know, right? God,
Yeah, you got the whole plot ready.
I've got a plot. Hire me, BioWare. I will write you a plot that will tie into everything beautifully. Just hire me. For God's sake, you don't even need to give me money. Just let me make it make sense. Sorry.
Oh,
Fel-
that's free.
Felasanis, have you got any thoughts for going into the future, the next Dragon Age game?
Like I said, I got what I came for. They can do
You're
whatever now.
tapping out.
I'm
think-
out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Obviously, I would love to see a fifth game. I'm not saying no. I would love to see a fifth game. Obviously, the more Dragon Age. I'll complain, but I'll still take the scraps. But I don't know where they could go. I guess like the Canary and the Gathering Storm. But other than that, no, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's fair.
You know, I'd really love a smaller scale game again. Like,
Yeah.
to just give us a city to run
Oh,
around
yeah.
in with our by
That's
disasters,
what
and let's have fun.
Minrathous would be. I hoped
Yeah.
Minrathous would be the next
Mm.
Miracall. But no, they really let me down with Minrathous.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, we didn't get to see nearly as much of Minrathous as I wanted to, or nearly as much of any of the places as I wanted to. I
How
wanted to
No.
see Antiva, not just Treviso. I wanted to see
I know.
Teventer, not just Minrathous.
Yeah,
Ravane. I
Minrathous.
wanted to
And
see
Ravane is
any
just a peak.
Ravane. So
the
angry.
only
Yeah,
area that I was happy with, like super happy with, was the Oliphant Forest. I'm like, this is just elves.
Yeah.
I'm living my best life over here. This is great.
I'm so nitpicky. Arlothan Forest bothered me a little bit, mainly because I didn't like how the elven technology was very aetherpunk instead of like what I had imagined with them being very like natural or like the dwarves in my head were very much the technological sort of like
Mm.
people, right? The ones that were inventive and had that technology. And then it comes in like, oh, when Solus was saying, oh, the dwarves must have gotten this from somewhere. Oh, it's the elves again. As much as I love the elves, I'm like, it can't all be the elves. Like, everything
Right.
can't
Be the
go back
See,
to the elves.
I kind of saw that as the opposite. I think that because
Mhm.
obviously spirits mirror
Mhm.
things and they reflect the world, and obviously the elves were spirits that they. I
Mhm.
don't know what civilizations existed when they decided to make bodies, but they were like, "That's cool. We've accidentally stolen that from a dream one time." Like, rather
I
than
feel like the only
it being the
reason
other
why
way.
like that doesn't like work, I guess, well, the art book's not canon, obviously, but like you see like the dwarves sort of walking around with like baskets and with no clothes on, and they kind of
Mhm.
don't have like their own singular consciousness. They're just sort of like I guess like worker bees for the Titans. And so I'm like, I don't think that I feel like their building became an invention when they didn't have magic, trying to survive in a world in which the elves are dealing with like these big magics. So I guess I can see that like the elves taking it from like the Titans, but I just don't see why the Titans would have a need. Like technology is an invention of necessity, and
Mhm.
they didn't have a need then. So for me, I'm just like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like that's why that's the only reason why I loved Arthur Forest. I guess also I hate puzzles, so that also bothered
Oh
me.
yeah, no, I just
Having to
brute
do all
forced my way through them. It's
I
so
was so
real.
Yeah.
annoyed, and I just know I really wanted to see like how they could like like imagining like someone like growing a building like the because they had the time or something like that, like having a tree that grows, they shape it into like a building. What is that art called in like Japanese? I forget what it's called, but like when you grow a tree to be in a certain shape. Um, yeah, I was
I
expecting more of that from like the elves, and then it was just
Well, I'm
like
sure Solus
crazy
describes about
technology.
like crystal towers that twisted into
Mhm.
the thing, which would have been at least like because glass is obviously natural, so at least
Yeah.
there's ways they could have done this to make it less. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
what you mean.
I thought they'd be more like, yeah, so I'm like I love aetherpunk aesthetic, so it was very beautiful, but like at least from like what I expected with the elves, it just felt So I'm like, oh, like who was like in charge of that? Like June? I always imagine him to be
Mhm.
more like when I think of craft, I guess he's more like Hephaestus instead of being like a Hestia, which I was imagining him being
Right.
more like a Hestia sort of like
Mhm.
figure rather than a
Well, I was
Hephaestus. But
actually
yeah,
waiting for a mega reveal that June was going to be a dwarf because they have an anvil on them
that's
in the thing. So
interesting.
I was like, I
That would've
wonder
been
if they're a
interesting.
I
dwarf,
like
and that's
that.
where they got the technology thing like from. Again, let me write the game anyway. I should stop saying that. But this does
I
tie
wonder if
into a
sorry.
question that Bryn asked, which was which areas of Thedas would you have liked to see more? Yeah. So
Ravane, hands down, Ravane.
yeah,
I
Ravine,
am
so.
sorely and deeply disappointed by Ravane. Where are my fishing villages? Why didn't I get to see a single like matrilineal led town with a council of seers? Why didn't I like just? And we all knew it was gonna happen. But
Yeah.
I am still deeply, deeply disappointed with what we got from Ravane. It's
Mhm.
pretty. Love a beach. Love a pirate hideout. Give me more.
It felt just, yeah, it honestly felt lazy. I'm sorry to use that word. I know
Hmm
it's a triggering word for people. I think they ran out of time.
Yeah.
I think that okay, so this game was meant to be a multiplayer game, and they got it changed, obviously. And I do feel like they had these maps
hmm
for multiplayer missions, and
hmm
then they were like, okay, so we're not doing that anymore. We now need to fill them with something. And
That makes sense, yeah.
some of them feel better than others, but they
Yep.
ran out of time, and that's also why the story wasn't right, because at least with Dragon Age 2, they knew they only had 2 years to make a game, so they
Right.
could
So they
focus
planned
on the
for that.
plot. With this, they didn't, and they thought they had longer, so they did all the scenery stuff, and then it's like, well, shit, now we need to start again. But then we've got all this scenery stuff, and I feel like that's why
Yeah.
so many things are unfinished, because
hmm
instead of focusing up like they did on DA2, which isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, they'd already spread out too far.
Yeah, Ravane felt like the hinterlands, which isn't necessarily an awful thing. There were still things to do, but it wasn't. It's to the level of the other places.
Mm.
Hmm.
Anyone else got any other particular places? I've stopped just calling out
The
people's
crossroads.
names. Yes.
I'm just a nerd for anything Fade related, so when I was done with that, it was the first place I completed too, because I was just going ham on it, and I was like, oh no, I've run out of things to do now.
Oh no.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I did the crossroads so quick just because I was actively looking for Felisan
Yeah, me too.
documents.
Mm-hmm.
And then got whiplash from the cameo. So I just did it like that straight away.
I got stuck there for about 2 hours because I was ahead of myself and it wouldn't let me progress any further. But I was really trying to progress it further, and it was like, no.
I think the most disappointing for me, though, the most outside of Minrathis was Cal Sharrock. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
egregious,
Yes.
utterly egregious. I have been looking forward to that for so long, and not only did we barely get to look at it, we can't even go back to it, which
Right.
Mm.
sucks.
Yeah, I
But that's
missed a
just
bunch
it
of
with
stuff.
the whole dwarf storyline being handled pretty poorly, just in general.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a
Fair.
sore spot for me.
Oh, so what were their armors? Like, what was that?
Oh my
So
god.
funny. Oh, I was expecting these like because of the Cash Rock stuff with the like way they're described. It's like they don't look right either. Like because
Yeah.
they all have hoods and stuff. So I made my own dwarf look like a Grey Warden who looks a bit fucked up, just because that's what I wanted in Cash Rock. Sorry, my Grey Warden whose name I couldn't think of, so I just did Solus backwards. Because that's all he's on my mind all the time. Did anyone else have any other places that they wanted more from?
The ocean, Gillinane, what's in there,
For
girl?
real. For real.
Pride stayed her hands, those fucking monsters.
If they had kept the Dumont with the ship, I would have loved
hmm
to see
hmm
Oh, that was
like
so
a sea monster kraken fight on a boat. Would
That
that
would have
not
been
have
so
slapped?
fun.
Mhm,
Yeah, I would.
mhm.
That would have slapped.
Oh,
Even the
Yep.
Anyway.
underwater little mansion too would have been great. Just give
mhm.
us
Yeah.
all the underwater levels that you planned.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And then Rook can't even swim.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Just the
It's
concept
glad.
art
Played
with
They're
the
like,
him
there's
on.
nothing in the
diving.
ocean. Yeah, the
Yeah,
diving.
the
That'd
diving
be
looks so
cool.
cool.
playing a
Rook
Lord
would
of
have drowned.
Fortune who can't swim is so fucking funny to me. Fuck. Sorry,
I mean,
Velvetter
none of them
asked.
can swim, can they? None of the
Oh yeah,
heroes.
none of them.
No,
But it's when
none of
you're
them can
when you're a
swim.
pirate and you can't swim.
Right, if you're a Lord of Fortune and you can't swim,
I feel like
I've,
it also
I've
just
played a
came up
pirate
went
and
more.
can't
overboard.
swim before. It's a funny trope, you know. One
Oh.
Piece.
Oh. But no,
It's a
I
funny
feel like it
trope,
came
you
up
know?
more in Veilguard that we couldn't swim, because I don't know about you guys, but I couldn't keep my feet on the ground. I just ran right off of ledges constantly.
As soon as
Yeah.
I got to the lighthouse, I was like looking around. I just fell straight off the platform.
Like, whoa, this is so. Yeah, Solus was watching me fumble a lot. He was probably like, this fucking idiot has no chance of saving the world. Good God.
Velvetter asked over on TikTok, do you guys think we'll be back in Ferelden any point in the
No.
future?
No.
Me neither.
No.
They
They
blew it
nuked
off
it.
the map for a reason.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah,
I
they
think
don't
the
have
opposite. I think they blew it off the map because it needed a reset, so now they can go back to it if they really, really wanted to, but that's just me.
I really thought I was the optimist here. I'm not.
I'm not saying we're going back to Ferelden. I'm just saying that's why I think they did it, is so they had a hard reset.
I feel like for me, like I'm a Star Wars fan. I've been twice burned. And oftentimes one thing in the fandom I find is that like you are putting a lot of thought into something that like I don't think that other people they thought of. They're like, I think it was very much like trying to, and I'm also a writer and I'm a GM, like sometimes you're just trying to solve immediate problems. You're like, oh, we need to explain to the players why they're not in the South. And then they're gonna have a problem in the future, right? Where they're like, oh well, we
Yep.
blew this place off the map, but because we're trying to solve a problem in Veilguard. In Veilguard, the problem is we need to explain why you're not going south right now, and the way that we're gonna do that is just make it overrun by like Darkspawn and blowing it off the map completely, so you don't have to worry about it, right? And so I feel like that's probably the reason they're trying to solve an immediate problem in this specific game, and then they'll figure out the rest of the sauce later. You know, I feel like that's
What a very BioWare thing to do.
Yeah.
I feel like that's solution. They might go back. They might not go back. The world's their oyster.
Yeah, I mean everything is so open. Even like Solus, it's the implication is what weak sets of the
They need to leave him alone.
Yeah, don't
Like,
talk
Yeah,
about
let
it.
him
That's-
smooch his wife.
Keep my
Let
man's
him
name
rest.
out of your goddamn mouth.
I will fly to BioWare. This is not a joke.
This is not a joke.
Yeah, where are all of our Soul of Ellen questions, guys?
Oh yeah.
Someone asked a question about Soul Ellen on Twitch about like any cute headcanons we have for our Lavellen and Solus.
I literally just got that. How different are your canon / headcanon Rook's opinions of Solus versus your Inkies? So Rook, Solus to enemies. That one or a different one?
It was a different one, but that one's cute too. I like that one.
Yeah, it's cute. That was from Asterius Divination. Was how are your canon / headcanon Rook's opinions of Solus different to your Inquisitor's opinions of Solus? Which I think is a nice question. You go on, Vina Bees.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me?
Me? I'm like, I don't want to talk too much because I get so excited about it. So my Inquisitor Aetham is non-binary because fuck BioWare for not letting me trans my Inquisitor's gender. Aetham, at least in like the canon that I write, has like a phrase that they go by. I love you, I forgive you for everything. So for Solus, they're very much like anything he could do wrong or has done wrong, they've already forgiven him as soon as they like. So they feel an immense sense of like sadness about Solus. It makes it so sad. And also I gave my Inquisitor abandonment issues and then made them romance Solus, so that's fun.
You cruel.
And then my Rook Revisan is Aetham's son, who Solus helped raise during the time of Inquisition, because I'm insane.
Agony.
Yeah, Rook has you're not my real dad energy towards Solus. Is very hurt. Also more lore. My Rook's actual dad is Felisan because I'm evil.
Agony.
I didn't know that part.
You didn't know that?
No.
You didn't know?
I know. I was watching one of your edits of Renaissance today, and I was like,
Yeah.
he looks so much like Felix. And then I was like, I wonder if
He looks
I've ever
familiar.
Yeah, yeah, that's his dad. So he's having to like go through these memories and seeing like his two dads interact, and his journey throughout through Veilguard is him deciding which father he wants to emulate. So I think he feels an immense sense of like understanding and pity for Solus and love, but also I have this dream where I'm hitting my dad with a baseball bat. He's screaming and crying for help. So
What
that's
a good
the two
song.
different feelings. They're very different, but it's like a mother, like a wife loving their husband, and then a son who has been abandoned by their father. And I'm like, I'm like you, and I hate it. Go into the fade, so I don't have to look at you anymore.
Go on, Con. Have you got headcanons for your Rook and Solus relationship and Llewellyn and Solus relationship?
Yes. So, thank you so much for asking. Okay. So we'll start off with my Inquisitor, Danathari Llewellyn. She, I mean, really did not like Solus at first. Like, just could not stand his uppity ass. But because he very clearly knew more about the elves in general than she did, and because she was an intensely curious person, she started asking questions and getting begrudging answers, and obviously that mutual respect grew. And by the end of Inquisition, Milo Bellin is genuinely head over heels for Solus, and feels like they have the rest of eternity to explore the Fade together, because Lebellin is a dreamer. And that was what she wanted to do. When all of this was over, she wanted to find a cozy little cottage with Solus and just dream for the rest of their lives, pretty much, like with breaks in between so that they can explore more of the Fade, so on and so on. Anyway, and then Trespasser happens, and she is so incredibly angry. So I saw somebody say on TikTok the other day that the scene of Llewellyn going off with Solus into the Fade should have been her picking him up by the scruff and like throwing him in there, and like, let's go. We've got some atoning to do. But that's kind of how she feels, but still absolutely desperate to save him from himself, because he has made it so intensely clear that if she were around, he would not be able to do what he needed to do this shit, My Rook, on the other hand, very much shaking hands with Briar. Very much, you're not my real dad. My Rook, Caspian, has the Elgranon Valisline, specifically for the sun imagery. I made a video about this one anyway. Specifically for the sun imagery, and the video that I made was about how there are two distinct conversations I headcanoned for him, and one between Lucanus Davrin and Caspian during one of their drinking nights is, a "you are the sun," like Christina Yang from Grey's Anatomy says to Meredith Grey, and then a "I am the sun" between him and Elgranon. And so even though my Rook is incredibly irritated with Solus at all points in time for something, he has this intense admiration, especially once he finds out about Elgranon, because he feels this sense of disappointment and letdown that Solus almost fills, in a way, as like this, okay, you are the elven god of legend that I am actually looking for. You have this liberator thing going on, and I want, even if he's not super conscious of it, I want to be more like you. So they end up butting heads a lot with, I know I'm doing the right thing, and Solus thinking that he's correct and also trying to manipulate Rook at the same time, and Rook just kind of not having any of it. That's the difference between their relationships. A begrudging respect and an unfortunate affection between my Rook and Solus, and an angry determination and passion between Llewellyn and Solus.
I like it. Felsalis?
So for like my Rook and Solus, I haven't really thought about it too much. I tend to need to like play my character before I do any like writing of them. but I feel bad for my Rook because I feel like my Rook hated Soulless, but she's being played by a Solar Villain fan. So unfortunately, she's like, yeah, no, Soulless feels bad about what he's doing. He can be redeemed. I feel like my Rook's actually like, no, he needs to be stopped at all costs.
Why are these words
Um,
coming out of my mouth?
yeah, really being puppeteered by me. For like Leilani and Soulless, I feel like how the game portrayed it, kind of how it feels fitting for my Inquisitor, just because she's had like 10 years to be angry. She's had 10 years to like deliberate over her relationship to Soulless. So I feel like by the time it gets to actually confronting him for the last time, she just wants him to stop and she just wants to be with him. Like the arguments and all that can come in the fade for later. They've got all the time in the world to get into it. But in that moment, she's just like, just let me be with you, man. Like, stop being so difficult.
Grab him by the ear and just drag him in.
Literally.
Yeah.
Echo? Echo?
Oh, sorry. Nothing came out of your end. I saw your mouth
sorry.
move, and I was like,
Is it my turn?
I go too high. Sorry, Echo.
well, mine's sort of really, really complicated, and there are a lot of layers, and I mean like a lot of layers
Yeah.
because I've changed the canon so fucking much. Which I think, but oh god, I don't even know how to like without going into so much detail because there's like characters that are in my story that aren't in the canon story because obviously Abelas, but also Felisan. And so for my Lavellan, she's like fiercely in love with Solus, but there is a bit in between Inquisition and Trespasser where she actually gets with Felisan very briefly before she knows that Solus is the Dread Wolf and things like that. And then he breaks off with her because he thinks she is the like best person for Solus and thinks that she has the best chance to save him from himself. She doesn't know what that's why he breaks up with her, but like so she has this sort of resentment for relationships for a long while that she's just there's something wrong with her and like so she's really confused and like just has a hard time with it. But she still really loves Solus and she above all else wants to save him from himself. So she oh my god, it's really hard to articulate. My ADHD brain is like, I want to go off on this tangent and then this tangent, but I'm like, no.
And, you're doing great.
Whereas my Rook, they're gaslit by him so easily. They were so taken by him of being like the whole bit where he's like, the Dread Wolf respects you and things like that. They were like, yay! But they were actually like sort of the adopted kid of Felisan and Abelas, and also a little bit my Inquisitor. Basically, just the whole squad just adopted this 16-year-old at the time, and we're like, this is ours now, and we're gonna take it around with us. But they're 20 to 21 when Veilguard starts. And yeah, so when they realize that he's lying and then what he did to Felisan and things like that, they really, really hate him. And what's worse for them is both Elgernan and Solus have this idea that Rook is a lot like them or like themselves. And Solus hates them for it. And Elgernan likes that they're like a little spitfire, a ball of vengeance. So they're just having a bad time, really.
That's fair. For mine, my Lavellan was always kind of like me with that seeking like knowledge thing, and so that's like the connection that they build with Solus in the first place. It's why they leave the clan to like explore the world and see the world and learn more about the Fade. And just the world in general. So when Solus leaves, like she becomes that person who wants to like research as much as she can to find another way. And because she couldn't believe that this was the only way that we could do this, and because Solus takes on that responsibility himself, she still wanted to try and help him in her way because she knew that they'd see each other again. Because they were going to, they're destined to be together, and I love him. So that was kind of she always thought that there would be a way that she could reach him, and so she was angry at times, but she had faith and hope and all that. And yeah, that was kind of how, because my Inquisitor, I'm really leaning into that spirit of hope thing. I know that they're not spirits, but there's still a connection to spirits with elves in general. I get that vibe. And then with my rook, I wanted to lean into my own issues with grief recently. So she has her origin is from Kirkwall originally, and her parents were killed in the Alienage. She grew up in Darktown, but she made friends with a spirit in the Fade who kind of helped her, like learn a magic that way. She wasn't in the circle because God no. So it was dealing with grief, but she was always this like she always stayed rather positive. And just that parallel between Solus and his grief and Rook and her grief and how they deal with it differently. And I think it's one of the things that when she connects with Solus over, because she can see when you go into his house and how there's only one candle there, the place is a mess. His intrusive thoughts are on the walls and then yeeted out of the window. Like he's not well and wants to be able to like reach him because she can see that like depression in herself, also them, but it's just the way that they deal with it is very different. So yeah, I kind of wanted to deal with that with my rook, which is fun. It's not fun. It's really sad.
I'm actually really excited because I'm going to be playing the Dragon Age TTRPG with a bunch of friends soon. Well, I say soon. It's probably going to be sometime next year.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I'm playing my rook.
Ooh.
But before everything happens, so I will have more backstory for him eventually.
Yay! Oh, that'll be well good. Oh,
Yeah,
I've got
very,
to the
very excited.
question that Feely XXJ said about the silly headcanons that you have about Solus and your Llewellyn's relationships. I don't have anything extra to add unless anyone else has anything extra they want to add to their Llewellyn and Solus's little headcanon. Oh, I had one, but it's about my rook. The Varric sent Isabella a transcript of his book that was called The Dreadwolf's Heart, and it's like it's not a smutty version, but it's a romance told in that. So she picked that up because I had to have my rook root for those two in some way.
All of
yeah,
it.
finding like little notes to the Inquisitor that he didn't send and things like that, like in the lighthouse. Yeah.
Yeah, my rook is fully a solo villain. There's
Yeah.
he is rooting for them.
My Llewellyn, because of how much I've changed the canon, is just like pretty much present for most of Veilguard anyway. So like it would have been extra embarrassing for her for to find those things. Like, no, give that to me, hand that over.
No.
Well, that ties into what DA asked over on TikTok of what would be your ideal fan service addition to the game, regardless of lore. It's probably notes to Llewellyn around the lighthouse would be a nice one.
That would be
I
fun.
would have
That would be
loved
fun.
to seen like in his Inquisitor themed bedroom.
Oh, did you see that
I-
post? Sorry, where they had the little wolf from the forest and they cut it.
I saw that.
Oh yeah, I wish the like
No.
it's like I wish they would have seen like had like a painting of like your Lavelle. I think it would have been easy to like switch out like the color base
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
you design them, but you know maybe they didn't want to give us Lavelle too much sauce. But like I would have loved to see like a murals of like
Yeah,
somewhere in the
I really
lighthouse.
wanted a mural.
Yeah, or at least like a codex entry of like a sketchbook of like an elven woman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or even like just like a codex of him like planning a mural. Even would have been something.
Yeah.
My fan service. I'm really sorry to keep bringing him up. A Felison romance would have been mine.
Yeah.
You know,
I know how to agree, actually.
but I also feel like he could have made sense in the narrative as well. Him being alive, tranquil, and then cured of tranquility. The whole conspiracy theory I've got going on. And like being romanced by probably Rook, but Aura Llewellyn would have worked because then Souls would have had no chance. But yeah, that's what would have been my fan service. But I also feel like I already got spoiled enough by BioWare, so I'll just rein it in.
You said I got spoiled enough, and you got a corpse. That's what you got.
Yeah.
I think you deserve a little more spoiling.
That wasn't him. I'm in denial.
No, I listen. Okay, so those demons have to be possessing a body, but it doesn't have to be the body that the regret is about. That I I'm just saying. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm fully on that Copium.
Oh.
No, it was not him.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
I think it's
I didn't even
it's a
think it
demon,
was
isn't
him.
it? We're talking about Betrayal of Felasan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a demon. It's a revenant, isn't it? So it's not
But
not
a
Felasan.
revenant. Well, a revenant is very specifically a demon that is possessing a corpse. That is what a revenant is. But it doesn't have to be Felasan's corpse.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily make sense for then the other, because the other ones wouldn't be specifically the regrets brought back, if that makes sense. So it doesn't have to be Falzan. Yeah, like it's fine.
Yeah.
Ignore that he has powerful eyes.
feels
It's
like
fine.
Right. It's fine.
Like it feels like it's not named Felasan, right? It feels like the betrayal of Felasan, which I think is also interesting because the phrase of it, I'm like, whose regret is this? Is this Felasan's regret?
Yeah, I know it's
interesting.
I think it's specifically Solus's regret just because of how
I
the
agree.
character talks about it. Because
Yeah,
the caretaker
stabbed in the
says
back.
the revenants. Yeah, well, that, but also the way that the caretaker talks about the revenants is as the Dreadwolf's regrets come to life. So I think it is Solus's regret.
I'll save it for the fanfic. But speaking of the Dreadwolf's regret, I wanted more memories.
Yes!
Specific memories that I would have wanted. One, a memory of an event that happened during Inquisition from Solus's perspective. Specifically, like the ball and him going to find the mirrors. While
Yes. Oh my god.
Yes.
And then a time in ancient in the ancient times where it's during a peaceful time where it's unclear exactly what about the moment Solus regrets. Those would be my two things.
This can be a question we do because we should all answer this because I love this question because I've done a thing on it as well. I wanted the moment for a regret to be seeing the lighthouse as a place of wisdom, but becoming that center of command. So then we at least saw the transition of what it was like, what ancient Alathan was actually like, that he's trying to save, because we see so much of just the bad constantly. So it would have been really nice to have seen the library as this place of wisdom going to this place of giving
like
orders.
show us what was actually lost instead of just vaguely talking about it.
Which it is there in codexes, which is what I mean when it's like, you've given me the scraps, I can fix it in my head, not a problem. Just let me write for you. Anyway, the other thing is there's another codex entry that shows about Andriel doing a blood sacrifice with a bunch of slaves, and they save them, but then the Evaneris actually use that as propaganda against Fen'Harel, so it's showing that he is doing the right thing, but even that is then being used against him as a regret of how could he have stopped this, and again, that is already in the game. Just show us. Fucking thing. This game. Any other regrets that other people would have wanted?
I think just more in like slightly different settings, like not necessarily the Inquisition Bowl, but like an Elvenan one. I want to see that man in some fancy drip, not necessarily his onion hat, as much as I love the onion hat.
Have you seen that TikToker who wears like gold things? I don't want him wearing a crown now. That would have hurt my feelings. But I'd like to have seen it in the past. That would have been great.
I feel like a wolf mask or something, like a masquerade would have been cool. I don't know how they would have twisted it into a regret. I'm sure we could think of something, but
yeah, I feel like that's like sort of like more of like my idea of like that, like showing a memory from the past where it is extravagance and like beauty, and then not being clear where the regret in that memory is. So I feel like he didn't have to fight anybody. What about that did he regret? I think that'd be interesting, because it leaves like that question about like how his mind works.
And not have a conversation with a bunch of people who weren't there trying to tell us exactly what happened.
Yeah, trying to tell us what
that was fun.
Motivation was. Yeah. I wish that we could have actually seen the scenes that we got. I love the mosaic, I love the fresco, I love I get it. I want to see it happen.
like melt into
animated them.
Yeah. Seen that especially.
I think I really love the idea of there being a moment of peace where you're not sure what the regret is, because it could be a number of things. You know, do you regret the fact that you stole this piece? Do you regret the fact that this was piece to begin with? Do you feel like you should have started earlier? So on and so forth. It could have been anything. I just specifically wanted more about the Evanورus family dynamic.
Yes.
I would have
Yes.
loved to see their domesticity. Where did the relationship of Elgernon and Gillenane being siblings come from? Because Gillenane was ascended later. How did they become close? Because it's clear that Elgernon cares about Gillenane in whatever fucked up, groomy way he does. But, like, you know, there is a relationship there, and I would have loved to have seen it develop, and maybe that be one of Solus's regrets, that, you know, there was a relationship. How could he have fostered that? How could we have come to a different conclusion than being blighted and forced to uphold a veil, you know?
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's what I would have wanted to see.
I'd have loved to have
And
seen
like
more on.
Mashal and Elfnan, I wanted elaboration on their relationship as well. It seemed like it was very important.
Mhm.
And it's just it's too vague. I can't pin them down.
I
What
wanted
was
my
going on between them?
sapphics. Where's my sapphic elven
Yes!
goddesses? Where are they?
Yes.
And that as
Show me
well.
them. Where are
Yep.
they? Why are they not mentioned in the art book? Her entire
Mhm.
headpiece is fashioned after the bow. Show me the
And
lesbians. Show me the
right.
lesbians.
And can't you just imagine the bond that Gillenane and Fenrirel could have had,
I
both being
know.
outsiders of the Evanورus, neither having been part of
Sounded
the
like they were
original.
friends.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it was like, you used to be the
right.
most gentle of us, and then like
Mhm,
something happened. Especially because Gillenane says like, Angelo supports me, skill issue,
mhm,
like based, and like that's a
yeah,
dig, obviously.
mhm,
So it's a very interesting parallel there that like you don't get to explore.
yeah. Like, Mythal did not support Solus the way that Andrul supported Gillenane,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like that parallel would have been super interesting
Hmm
to look through. I for sure agree. Yeah, no, there's just
They
so
give
much
us
about the
so much
Evanورus
good
I would.
crumbs and then just don't go in far enough with it. Like they're teasing us with all this like
Mhm, mhm.
juicy bit of lore, but they never elaborate.
And the problem I think that we're running into is that they are relying on, one, external media, and two, us as the fans to create
Yeah.
the fanfic, to expand the world,
Yeah,
to whatever the hell. And it's one thing to leave room for us; it's another to rely on us to tell the story.
agree.
That's what I was saying today about the difference between lore and world building. Like, yeah, I
Mhm,
love
mhm.
going through the codexes and putting pieces together and trying to figure these things out, but I shouldn't have to do that with so many goddamn things. Like,
Yes.
a lot of this stuff needed to just be in the game as the storytelling, as the world building, and seeing it,
Mhm.
not us being told in a codex. Because as much as I
Right.
love having the codex behind me and I point at the thing, it's great for content, annoying as a fan for the game that I want to like see it, you know?
Honestly, I still think they were even lacking in codexes as
Yeah.
well. It's
Mhm.
like for
Yeah.
fix at this point we're not using building blocks. We're just making it up as we go along because
Yep.
Yeah.
there was
Mm,
fuck all on like all of the other Evanoris and
Yeah.
like
yeah,
There's that one codex about Andriel doing that blood sacrifice to do something for those across the sea. Then June making mirrors. You get like the talk between Solus and Elganon about when
Mhm.
Solus talks about the other Evanuris. But yeah, there's so little. I want a graphic novel or something. I'm desperate.
yeah.
Speaking of Dirthaman, Dreadwolf Chan, why did they give Dirthaman's whole thing to Solus? Like, did they just forget that? No, they didn't forget he existed. He's mentioned in the game. What, they took his whole thing.
Elaborate.
They were okay. So Solus in Inquisition was not necessarily the god of like lies, and he wasn't the god of
Mm-hmm.
like secrets. He was the god of betrayal and rebellion and trickery.
Hmm
In Veilguard, he's just like, yes, they say the god of lies, betrayal, whatever. They really hone in on him being this lying figure, that he is just
Yeah.
constantly lying. And instead of leaning into the trickery, they're just leaning into the dishonesty. They're leaning into the
Yep.
secrets. They're leaning into the shrouded in mystery. And that's Dirthaman's whole thing. I mean, it would have been he's got two things. Dirthaman has two things. He is a twin. He is a spirit severed in the center between him and Falandine, and he is the god of secrets. Leave his thing
also
alone.
Solus is bad at lying. So
He's
him
bad
Yeah,
being the
totally.
yeah.
god of
And
lying.
Solus is bad at lying.
Uh,
Yeah.
I was really
Even the
disappointed
lies
with
that he
that.
tells in this game are like
They're so
It's
bad,
terrifying. Yeah,
and
like
you
when he
didn't
was
see
like,
it.
yeah, like I was like, like I didn't figure out the Varric deal right away, but I was also like
You
on
knew
his
something
side,
was
like
weird.
that I was like, that's not Varric. At some point, I was like, that's not him. I
Yep.
don't know what it is, but I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
think that's Varric. And also like I knew he was like even when we got that like the preview, I was like, Soul's clearly lying. He's like, Varric is very this that high. I'm like,
Yeah.
run that back. And he was just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
blood magic, and he's like, I abhor the use of blood magic. He didn't say
No,
the
you
use
don't.
No,
blood
the fuck
He
you don't.
and
I love
also,
that.
yeah, that was like complete retcon. He does not abhor the use of blood magic.
No.
I liked
That was
that
an
as I thought that was it wasn't a retcon. I thought that was a hint for the people who played the games before. Is how I saw that as you're
Mhm.
already lying. You're lying here.
I think it's just my frustration because Trick has always said that Solus never like outright
Outright
lies.
lies.
And
Lies.
so
Yeah.
for me, it feels like a retcon because I trust Trick.
Yes.
Well, he
That's
does
some of
in
the-
Inquisition too, though, with the archdemons. He's like, they have nothing to do with my people, but you can tell when he does because
Nothing
he
in
gets
No, no,
like,
no.
law.
No, yeah. He said
Yeah.
there is no lore or written something. He's very careful
Nothing
about the
in
wording
any
of
Yeah.
that.
known
It's still
law. Yeah.
Yes. That
the way
connects
he
my
says
people.
it is like his tell for me when he's like more not necessarily
Like
outright
angry.
lying, but like yeah,
aggressive. Yeah, he's a little more aggressive.
he gets real
indignant.
snippy, and it's like, oh, you're
Mm.
lying to me, buddy.
King.
Yeah. For sure.
But
Which he
yeah.
does get a little bit like that when you like, because if you think about the Inquisitor and Solus, when you do the ball, they've had like a relationship for a bit, and you can call him out when it says about what about the core, and he does like lie, obviously, but he is really bad at it. So maybe this time he's just covering up because he's more angry. But yeah, it was just I saw it as a
Mhm. Somebody in the chat asked if Solus is puppeting Varric, and previously I thought yes, but I don't think that's the case. And there's only one line of dialogue that I have to plead my case, and it's that Varric says at some point in time, if you go check on him in the infirmary, he says Bianca is antsy to get out there. But if Solus were puppeting Varric, he would know that Bianca was broken. Like I don't think I think it is a projection of the perception that Solus has of Varric. I think there might be some points where he speaks directly through him. I'm not sure how much of it is actually Solus, though.
It's so dumb.
I
There's like a
know.
lot of power
I
for a
know.
guy locked on a fade.
It's a terrible concept. And it could have been good.
I have a little thing that I don't hate about it. Okay, well, because I've headcanoned it to make it fit better in my head.
That's great. Yes.
So I'll tell you how I headcanoned it because it's not in the game. But before this game came out, I did a whole thing about grief and the whole cycle of grief thing, and I said about how bargaining and how the way that Solus reaches out to Rook is the way that is going to be the path of his redemption. And I think that Varric is the tool for that. That Solus uses, but it's another way that Solus, like, like the Inquisitor says that Solus wants to self-sabotage, like he wants to be stopped, and I feel like Varric is that tool that he doesn't even realize he's done, and I think it's 80% a Varric memory that is enhanced, but there's just little bits that's probably just my little bleeding heart that's like of that part of Solus that we can reach is also there, and it's also that thing that talks us through like how to get out of the Fade jail and sticks around, and it's a little bit of Solus, and that's why it's when it's Scout Harding, like Varric has never called Harding Scout Harding, and things like those little slit ups where I'm like, there's a little bit of Solus in there, and I think that little bit of Solus is the little bit we can reach, but yeah, the execution of that entire thing questionable at best.
I sniffed that man out in the literal first scene in the lighthouse. Like within a minute, I was like, "That ain't Varric." What? Like it was the way the companion that came in interacted with the scene that I was like, "Something is off here." And then I tried to gaslight myself for the rest of the game, going like, "I'm wrong. This is Varric. It's fine. It's Varric." And I was right.
Another tell was Bianca was broken on the desk, and I'm like, who would have picked up Bianca that got blown off on the side? I'm like, that can't be very Like I really can't be Varric. But
Never knew I could feel bad for a crossbow, man.
Yeah.
damn. The more I sit with it, because I made that whole video series about like the Varric decision that I stopped because people were so horrible about it.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I can
Horrible. I mean,
imagine.
stupid. And like, have you not watched the video? Anyway, but the more I sit with the decision and then hearing the stuff from the AMA, the more I loathe the decision. I literally last night was Varric posting on Twitter. So I'm gonna call it Varric's story is incomplete.
Mhm.
As it stands right now. Varric deserves to overcome his issues just as much as Solus, and the fact that he never gets to simply because we needed a reason for people to not be sympathetic towards Solus. Not my words. Not
Mhm.
my words. Um, uh, 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 makes me very mad because Varric and Solus to me are the heart characters of Dragon Age. They hold the two
Absolutely.
extremes of this world.
Mhm.
Like Varric exists in storytelling and and then Solus exists in history. Like and those are the two elements of this because this is a fantasy series and Varric acknowledges that, but it's also a deeply political series where things aren't always as like don't always get a clear happy ending, and they hold those two things and they pit these two characters against each other, basically claiming one is right and the other is Solus being wrong and Varric being correct. And Varric dies to prove that he is correct instead of overcoming his issues the same way that Solus does. And so I feel like him getting turned into this plot device and then a poorly executed plot device nonetheless is such a disservice to a character that means so much to people. Like I sobbed through that whole scene, but not
Mhm.
because of any emotional connection Rook potentially had for Varric, because I was mourning this character in the way that he was handled. Varric means so 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 much to me. And the fact that like he was treated like that, I'm like, when I catch you,
Yeah.
when I catch
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I think the overall execution was really
Mhm.
sloppy. The scene itself really hit me though. Like
Yeah.
I the way it was animated and everything, and just the fact that he didn't get to finish whatever sentence he had was just so fucking gut wrenching, and I cried for like at least 20 minutes. But like, yeah, overall, looking back at it and like after finishing it, it was like it definitely needed more than what it got for it to be good.
That's just the
But
motto of Veilguard. It just needed more.
Yeah.
yeah, like another
Yeah.
act, maybe,
One of the
another
things
few hours.
One of the things I would have wanted to set up Varric more for Rook is a on the road scene or something which like built their relationship a little
Like an
bit.
origin
Yeah,
scene.
and if it was like
Yeah.
him talking about Anders and how Anders was a person who did this terrible thing and he couldn't stand up to stop him. He didn't. There's dialogue with Anders and Varric where Varric can tell that Anders isn't right and he doesn't reach out, he doesn't stop him. So
Yeah.
I feel like they could have really done something with that and telling Rook that story when they told them about the idol for some reason. That would have been a way to have told them about the idol and also tied it into another mage that he knows who's on a path to stop things, and Varric feels this sense of duty and responsibility and another regret that he didn't do
Absolutely.
that. And it's like if we had just added that, it would have made it tie better for Varric's like why Varric's doing this. And a funeral scene. We needed a fucking funeral scene, like Tony
Oh
Stark in
yeah, we
Avengers.
really did.
Something, just something. In a bloody Starkhaven, put a statue up of Sebastian because Kirkwall's fucked apparently. That'd have been A, hilarious, but B, it would have been something, and I'm pissed. But yeah, it could have been. It just could have been better. It didn't need. It didn't need a lot. Like to make this work, they could have made the choices that they've made. They just needed some tweaks to just get it. It's frustrating.
And on that note, I actually have to hop off, but I
Excellent.
genuinely appreciate you having me. Thanks for all the questions, everybody. You guys have fun.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Cool. Well, I actually think we have cut. Sorry, did anyone else have anything they wanted to add on the Varric disaster, as I will refer to it from now on?
I I
No.
I I have like one thing to say, but I always have a multitude of things to say about everything. I just feel like because like I've told you guys about my insane Notion document of me rewriting Veilguard, and for the most of this process has been me trying to make that decision work, And so many other things get sacrificed to make that decision work, like the Inquisitor not being at the lighthouse, like the lack of reactivity between the companions, just to make the decision work. It makes so many other parts of the game suffer, like that feeling of Rook being a little bit isolated, and like how, like, yeah, again, the Inquisitor not being at the lighthouse. The Inquisitor absolutely should have been at the lighthouse at some point. I'll
Yeah.
stand by that.
Mhm.
Or having and axing the concept of like the advisors like Morrigan, Dorian, and is being advisors. If they were advisors, the Varric decision didn't work, right? But we lose them as advisors to uphold this decision. So there's just lots of scaffolding that's needed that makes the game feel a little bit more empty just to make this one choice work. And so for me, I'm just like, I would have preferred not to have it and have those other things in there and find another way to this emotional scene with Varric that does not require this loophole, or at least move this reveal a little bit earlier. So then maybe later in the game we could have all these things come into play.
Yeah.
Yeah, like another act. I believe Echo, I think you said something about having another
Yeah.
act. Yeah, like having another act in there, just like boop, like in which we get all those like
Squeeze it in, yeah.
Yeah.
squeeze all that like companion building and like those advisors, and so it would really emphasize that how Rook has been struggling with us on their own at the beginning and how different it is now having a network of people. And so that's why I just feel like I was like the decision just like it
It
takes
fell
so much
flat.
away. Yeah, it falls flat 'cause
Yeah.
it takes so much away from the rest of the story.
Agreed.
I think the Inquisitor, even as they were, like the fact that when you go to see him and it's Morrigan who's doing most of the talking, it's like why? Like, because those words could have just been the Inquisitor. Why is Morrigan saying
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
It wasn't even like dialogue that was fixed to backstory. Like, I know they'd have had to pay 4 voice actors to do it instead of just 1. Were they really that low on cash? What is happening?
Yeah. Also, why were we meeting the Inquisitor in Minrathous every time? Like, we already your Venatori have been your enemy for like 10 years now.
It
Please.
seems like a bad idea. There seems like there's so many better places to like meet.
The
Like at the
disrespect,
lighthouse,
Instead of
the
eating
crossroads,
tavern and Rathis.
anywhere else.
the outright disrespect that they didn't get their own outfit. Like Hart got their own outfit. Like why Dorian got his own outfit? Why is the Inquisitor turning up in those crappy pajamas that look like
Oh,
Star
she loves
Trek?
her pajamas. She's all
It'd have been
cozy.
so funny if it was the Sky Hole pajamas, though. That would have been
Screaming.
hilarious.
That
Oh
would have
my
been
god, with the
hilarious.
spindly arms.
Yeah.
God.
Amazing.
But it
But
would
also,
have been.
why does Shadow Dragons have a uniform? That's one thing. I played a Shadow Dragon. I'm like, why you guys have a uniform? Aren't you a covert operator?
Yeah, no, that annoys me so much. And why is our uniform bright? Like, why are we
makes
wearing red,
absolutely no
bright
sense.
blue? Oh.
I think unless I've missed a question, I've caught up with the questions, but I may have been, I might have missed stuff. So if I haven't answered your question, please put it in the chat again while I vamp. I think someone did ask if Varric did make a name for the story between the Inquisitor and Solus. What would it be? Mine is the Dreadwolf's Heart. I already had kind of that in my head. Does anyone else have a name for the book?
Does he write a book for them?
No,
Or is this
it's all
headcanon?
headcanon.
Okay.
It's headcanon
Still
fan.
headcanon.
I'm gonna say that he has it as a manuscript that he sent to someone in my head because I like the idea that because he says that he might write a book. So I like the
I
idea that
find it funny that he does in Inquisition write a book, but he writes a book about Vivienne and not the Inquisitor.
I like that.
I find that funny. Yeah, I just find it hard. I feel like I can't imagine Varric writing a book about Solus and the Inquisitor just because their relationship was so private. I think even
Yeah, that's
Varric
fair.
has it. And I think also Varric doesn't understand the Inquisitor or Solus interpersonally. I think both of those people confuse him very deeply, and I don't think you'd be able to write
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
is
it's
why I
not
think
like
Vivienne-
Hawk being with someone else. Like Varric knows Hawk
Mhm.
and whatever companion they get with. Like,
Mhm.
He
whereas
literally states that the Inquisitor is like
Yeah.
this icon to him,
they're
so
co-workers. They're not
Yeah,
close
yeah.
friends.
That's true. That's true. Someone asked why Rook being a leader. We did actually answer that earlier. So I don't really want to get into it again, but you could check out the VOD. Because we did go into quite a lot of detail about it. I feel like the Inquisitor loses a lot of their identity and their position. Making them into a character would have made it worse. Jesus. Yeah, it's interesting that with Hawk you got the option with Inquisition that you could choose purple, blue, or red. But
Mhm.
with the Inquisitor we don't really have that choice. So I do feel like it's always been harder to give the Inquisitor a
Yeah, they
voice.
fumbled that, not giving
Yeah.
them personalities in Inquisition, I
Agreed.
think.
Yeah.
But then they did it in Veilguard too, so.
Yeah. I think we should have had a dual protagonist. That's my hot take about Veilguard. It should have been a dual protagonist story. It would have fixed the problem of the Inquisitor being a piece of bread in the I think it would have fixed a lot of things. What would the Inquisitor do in this situation? I don't know. Let the players decide. They did it in like Last of Us Part 2 with the two protagonists.
Yeah.
You switch who you're in control of. Like I don't think it would have been that complex or difficult.
No, I don't think it would have been either.
They do
Yeah.
it in The
Even if-
Witcher when you have
Yeah.
control Ciri for a bit. Even if they'd have just done
Yeah.
it for like the last interaction or something, anything.
I think they should have done it while Rook was in the Fade prison.
Oh, that would have been so cool, like an extra act, but you're the
That would have been
Inquisitor.
fantastic. That would have been
Yeah.
Oh my god!
You've improved the
Imagine.
whole
Like,
game.
you
Oh
just, like,
my
you know, like
god!
you see Rook falling through this Fade thing, and then it.
And then he goes to the because
Witcher scene,
that would have
and
worked.
there you're like, where the fuck is Rook? Which would leave into that angst that like.
Oh, and
the
that could
Veilguard
that would have been so good. And then you do the oh my.
You've fixed the game.
You
You've
fixed the
done it.
game.
has.
They need to hire you ASAP.
Oh, that would have been so good. Has anyone else got any Veilguard hot takes that they're brave enough to say?
I mean,
I
can
don't
we
know.
talk about how they butchered the crows?
Yes, we can. I was so
yeah.
upset. You go, Felsa.
I hate with a passion this like rowdy rogue group that they've got going on, as if these Antivan Crows for the past 3 games have not been set up as cruel slavers. And all of their dirty laundry is just swept under the rug. It's like Teo and Viago can still be really likable characters, and they are definitely my favorite part of the Antivan Crows. But you can do that while still acknowledging the bad side of the Antivan Crows.
They were allergic to anything remotely
Like
nitty gritty,
Literally.
and apart from with the Grey Wardens, which is probably why they were my favorite faction in the game, is because they touched
Yeah.
on the shitty shit that they did.
Absolutely.
reading the Wigmaker job and doing Lucanus's personal quest, I hate it.
Horrendous.
I just hate it.
Alario apologists come to the front.
Yes.
I know.
Solidarity. I'm with you. I agree with you.
I see you. I stand with you.
I just couldn't. I just couldn't believe it. Like, because the entire thing in the Weekmaker job, he outright says he does want to be first talent. So the fact that I'm just like, what?
Well,
I wanted us to retire and be pirates and remain. You could have still visited. We'd had a great time, but no. I guess I'm gonna make a crow for you because I spoke to Emric once and then that was it. I realized that he was soulless if he was allowed to give wisdom and not orders. There's a hot take. Emric was written for me as a character who gives wisdom instead of orders and says about indomitable spirits. It's in the game. He is very soulless coded. I haven't been brave enough to I haven't made the video yet. I want to. They are different characters.
So upset.
They are.
That we don't get to see the interactive more.
They would have been so good
Yeah.
together. They would have been so good together, those two.
They would have. That also could have been fixed if with that extra act as the Inquisitor, because he would have been there.
We would have seen them make that dagger instead of it just turning up. Like, oh, that's nice.
Oh, that dagger!
Have you mentioned one time, Emric, that you were going to look into this at any point previously to this conversation? No. No, you didn't.
Do we even know how to make lyrium weapons like this? I'm pretty sure we don't.
No, you can't. You can't make lyrium weapons like this.
Like, where did we get this?
Did he just have a spare down the sofa? I've no idea.
That'd be hilarious. They were like, oh, so we combed the lighthouse and we found this under the sofa cushion. So here we go.
Yeah, Manfred was running around with it.
Or like something
Yeah.
that any kind of setup for that would have been great.
Or just let us do it ourselves too, you know? That could have worked as the extra little bit of time. Like,
Literally.
we get to grieve and we also get to think of a solution to deal with Solus as well as, like,
Yeah,
Elgarnan.
the fact it's
The
all
trick ending should
decided.
have been the hardest ending to achieve.
Mm.
I believe the trick ending should have been the hardest to achieve because he is the god of tricks. And that trick ending, he's looking at the dagger, and I posted about this on Blue Sky as well. About he always probably looked at that dagger and was like, you know what, sure, like he knew it was fake, and he was like, I've had enough. Fine,
I'm done.
I'll go. I'll leave because there ain't no way you handed me the
He
fake dagger
could
and didn't think I'd know.
he could
He was
sense
just like,
elven
the ball's
magic.
on you.
He can sense elven magic from like 500 feet away. You're walking through and it's like an elven artifact is nearby. I'm like, how? And the guy's got it behind his back. It's not even that hidden. It's like, what is happening? The scene. I rewatched the scene and I was like, this is the.
I truly believe
Oh my
Solus is tricking him. Solus is like, you know what? And then Brooke sends Solus into the Fade with the dagger. I believe this in my heart of hearts that Solus was greasing the wheels and acting his ass off. He's like, this is my time to shine. I don't have my blonde curly wig, but I can act. and because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, especially because he looks at that. He side eyes the fuck out of that dagger before he uses it.
Yeah, he knows. He absolutely knows.
It's
He
so
absolutely
bad.
knows it's a fake
He
dagger.
even knew.
Oh god. Someone did ask, what do you think Solus and Llewellyn's arrival in the Fade and first conversation would look like? I have actually written this as the only little bit of fanfiction I've ever written in my entire life because
Yeah, me and Echo talked about this as well.
I needed closure.
In length.
My thing
In
is
length.
that it's all the regrets. Obviously that the implication, as it is said on Blue Sky, it isn't in the game. Come up with whatever headcanon you like. But for me, they do go to the prison. But the regret that they go to is in Crestwood, and he actually gets to be honest to her because it's in another world, and it makes me cry. And I love them. They have my heart. And yes, that's pretty much it. If you want to read the terrible thing I've written, DM me and it's in my Discord.
Amazing. I've drawn what I think happens.
Amazing.
The man immediately collapses and cries.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
As he
Llewellyn
should.
holds him.
He was so close to being on his goddamn knees. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fully
Yeah.
believe he falls to his knees as soon as they cross that threshold.
Yeah.
He cries pitifully. Yeah. I've changed the ending. So I like completely retconned the ending of my fic. I may have touched on Mithal's vengeance a little bit too hard. I was like, you know what? Fuck it, we ball. So now I need to like write a second fic to go after my first fic. They still end up in Fade jail. They're just both a little bit less happy about it.
Screaming. I have two canons. Like the one that I'm like, okay, if I'm playing along with Veilguard's rule, this is what is going on. And then in my canon that I have completely invented, like an insane
In the correct
person.
timeline, this is what happened.
And in the correct timeline, they're in the lighthouse together, like yakking it up with a bunch of spirits.
Yeah.
To be fair, that can be canon because in the game it is not outrightly said that isn't what happens, and even Weeks on Blue Sky says it's implied. It's not in the game. They go to the lighthouse. The whole thing is so ambiguous. It's just nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Solus as far as the lighthouse truth is.
Yes.
I was always a Fade jail truther. Sorry,
no, it's fine. Fade jail is also pretty good. I think in canon, like the actual Veilguard canon, what I believe, I think they're in the Black City. Because that's where the blight is, and he says I'm going to go see the blight, and I'm like, there's no blight in the Fade prison. So I'm just like, how are you going to do that in the prison, King? So I'm like,
yeah, none of that makes sense. Unless he has to like face the regret before he deals with it.
I was going to say, I think he needs to atone, face his regrets, and then get out on his own, and then he starts doing shit.
So
this is
putting himself through therapy before he goes.
Literally.
He is trying to think. I called this so long ago. I said the man is going to be in Fade jail and he's going to have court mandated therapy, and we're going to actually deal, because I wanted to talk to him about his regrets, and I thought that we could push him more one way or the other,
That would
depending
have
on
been a good
those
way to handle it.
interactions with the
Mhm.
regrets. So it didn't feel such like a shock at the end. And those would have, like, because I was really worried about how, you know, like after the Gillename one, which option should I pick? Because I was worried it was actually going to make a difference. Doesn't.
Yeah.
So that was disappointing because I was hoping it was gonna be
Yeah.
like a Paragon Renegade thing from Mass Effect, but for Solus, that you could push him to be more one way or the other throughout the game.
Yeah, I was trying to be
Yeah.
so nice to that man because I didn't
There's
want to
so little
accidentally
options.
piss him off too much and like push him down a path I didn't want to push. Then it didn't matter, and I was like, oh, I could have been sassier. I liked
Literally.
ripping with him. It was very fun to just be
Yeah.
sassy with Solus.
This is why I feel bad for my Rook, because she hates him, but she's being puppeteered by a Solar Velen fan, so we're going to be nice to him at every opportunity.
I really wish there's more option though. Like I know we're saying like Rook is like kind of, you know, a little bit softer on the edges, but I do wish there's more dialogue options to be sympathetic with him and be
Yeah.
more listening to him.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was less of that. And I also wish like the regrets. This is my pie in the sky thing. I wish the regrets like happen in like the dreams. Like there's options for like Rook to go to sleep, and when Rook goes to sleep, seeing the regrets as like that bond going both ways, where like he's experiencing Solus's regrets. Like I saying he because my Rook is he,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like they experience like Solus's regrets in the stream, and it being like a very personal thing. 'Cause, like in Trespasser, you go as the Inquisitor by yourself to talk to Solus, and so no one else is giving their opinions. It's just you being able to process the information Solus is giving you, and then coming away with your own opinions, and then like you getting to decide how you disseminate that information. Because so much of my irritation with the companions and like the regret sequences was them saying the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Like I'm reading the comment section of a Reddit post with some of the stuff that the companions were saying, and it was making me like them less. So I wish like the regrets happened like in the dream sequences and then affected like the way you interact with him in the fade. Like I thought in the
Yeah.
fade we'd like maybe bridge the gap closer if we got closer to him, or maybe
Oh, that
the
would have been so
environment would have
good.
Yeah, that would have been
changed
really good.
depending
Yeah.
on you
The-
know. I think it could have been cool, but
The
what do I
weird, the
know?
conversations are really weird. They were just
Yeah.
really weird. And it's
Yeah.
just, I just, a lot of them took the most like unsympathetic things. Like, okay,
Yeah.
the Gillenane memory where he kills the person who's been infected with the blight. Aveline
Yeah.
does exactly the same fucking thing to Wesley in Dragon Age 2. No one gave a shit.
Mm.
But when Solus does it, everyone loses the goddamn
Yeah.
minds. I
Yeah.
was like, what is happening? I took Emmerich and Davrin on that one, and no one makes a nasty comment, so I liked that. Emmerich just
that's
goes on
good.
about the experimentation of the blight, because I'm like, oh, you're my nerd, I love you.
That's good. Harding, I took Harding and Nev, and I'm like, please silence. Like, cause like that, it made me like Nev, girl, I need you to stop talking about me. You are not saying anything helpful.
Who was
girl.
your go-to like combo? Because I really enjoyed Davrin and
Davin and
Emmerich.
Davin and Lucanus are my
Nice.
go-to, but I also switched out what made sense.
Mhm.
Like oh, I'm going to the grocery store, and then I'm gonna go stop by the postal service later. So like that's kind of like how I was doing it, trying to be very in world. So
Mhm.
Davin was usually with me, but I typically went by like what narratively made sense. Like if I was
I
going
just
to talk,
dragged whoever I romanced, and then whoever
Real.
needed to be there. I was like, if
Yeah.
there's their area, like if Tosh would be Ravane, and then Belara would be at the Elephant Forest. Well, actually, Belara was my first romance, so Belara went everywhere.
But
Um,
did you have like a like the banter between a particular pairing that you like preferred the most? Because like I liked the dad tips being compared between Davrin and
Well,
Emmerich so
right.
much.
For what I've experienced, because I like for my first run, it was literally Belara and then whoever else was with me. I really like Belara and Emmerich. They were just being cute little nerds. Now it's Harding and whoever I'm bringing with me, and I quite like Harding and Nev so far, but I've not got too far into the game to give like a solid opinion on that.
Phalasanis?
To ride or die. Sorry.
Yeah, I know the game like encourages you to swap out the companions, but as soon as I got my filthy little mitts on Emmerich, he never left. So
I love
my
her.
go-to was like Emmerich and Nev, or Emmerich and Lucanus, or Emmerich and Davrin. They were like the only ones I ever brought out pretty much. 'Cause I just liked their characters best, and I felt like, especially Emmerich and Davrin's banter, I just love how they bounce off each other so much. Like trading dad tips, I love it.
I love them so much. Okay, so I think okay, let me check Twitch. I just realized I'd paused the chat a while ago. Do. Question for Beanie Bees from Asterius
Me?
Divination. We might all jump in.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on the question. I haven't got that far. Do you feel this game has noticeable improvements or failures in regards to its handling of diversity, DEI, which is diversity something inclusion?
Equity and inclusion.
Sorry.
Equity and no,
Uh,
sorry.
you mentioned having a background in it, so that makes sense. Okay, we
Mhm.
won't jump in. Go.
You absolutely jump in, but I do have a background in it. I was really impressed by Davrin's character. Davrin is really excellent, except with the exception of the fact that he doesn't have a last name. I'll
Yeah.
be forgiven. I'll forgive you. He's a dark-skinned black man who has visibly black features. He was not cursed with the Killmonger dread haircut. And he has a pretty good haircut. Like I've been thinking about going to get that haircut myself. It looks really dope. And Yeah, so I really like that. Some of Epler's comments did make me go like, oh, some of my issues with Dabrin, a lot of how a lot of his emotionality is projected onto Asan rather than internalized within him. Like I understand Asan is a metaphor for like this Dabrin's like softness. But I wish there was a moment towards the end of the game. Like the end of the game is just lacking, I think, in terms of like personhood and things like that. But yeah, I really like that. I do like the fact that Balara is visibly like Asian, but like does not fall into I think a lot of like Asian like stereotypes. I think I really do love that. She was not, she is sort of bubbly, but she wasn't like woobified, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Uh, and then Nev, a beautiful brown woman with like I love when the environmental details that you could hear her
Yes, the
leg.
prosthetic. Yes,
Yep,
That was
that
so
that was
good. That
so
was such a
good.
small
so good.
detail.
Yeah, it's really paying attention like yeah, and then like her disability wasn't like part of her like story really. Like it wasn't like something like those like yeah, I just have I have this prosthetic leg and this is my life.
Hmm.
And this does not have to be my story. And I really love that. It was excellent. The crows have always been a weird amalgamation of Italy and Spain. I
Yeah.
cannot do anything about the crows. I'm sorry. That I don't, but like, yeah, that was so I think a lot of those aspects were really well in terms of like race. However, the way that they implemented fantasy race leaves a lot to be desired, and I think they didn't have to do any legwork. I think they probably assumed they didn't have to do any legwork because it was fantasy, despite the fact that these things are based off of like real world struggles. So like especially what they deal with the Tashes in like heritage terrible,
Hmm.
terrible. That there's nothing that was so poorly handled. But like the stuff with Tassa's gender, I have no issues with. It was just specifically the way that like they tried to do that. Like there was like no intersectionality there,
Hmm.
and that bothered me. I think my issue is that they don't recognize intersectionality with their storytelling. And so they'll do really well on one issue and then completely fall flat on another. I see the same thing with like the way that they dealt with like sexuality in this game. Every like I wish they got into more details of like how each of the companions interacted with their sexuality. Yes, they're all attracted to Rick no matter what, but that does not mean that they all share the same sexuality or interact with sex in the same way.
Yes.
And I wish they had detailed that out a little bit more, so we wouldn't get like the discourse we're having currently with Lucana. Um,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
um,
Hmm.
I haven't touched that
so
discourse. I've got to be honest.
yeah, don't even go over there. But yeah, but like I think those issues would have been handled better if they had gone into it thinking about each of the characters' sexuality and
Hmm.
having that be involved in like how that character is crafted. Because being bi, being pan, or like demi-romantic, asexual, that does impact the way that your relationships develop.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I wish that was like a little bit thing, but overall, I think they handled some things a lot better, and then completely were like, we don't have the skill to deal with this thing, so we're just gonna ignore it completely.
Like the
And that's
elves that were siding with
yeah,
Solus.
yeah. they definitely were out of their depth, and they didn't decide to pick up a book or hire someone who knew it.
Mhm.
And that's deeply frustrating to me. But in terms of like the presentation of their BIPOC characters, they did an excellent job of not falling into too many harmful stereotypes. Yeah, that's a long answer,
No,
but
it was a good answer
yeah.
though. It was an excellent answer. Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have anything to add, but I don't. I agree with everything you've said. But yeah, the Canaria Ravine choice with Tash seemed, again. I'm glad that like Weeks wrote the character from the like gender identity side, but it does seem
They needed somebody else in on that.
in on that.
Yeah.
Like they've had co-writers and characters before. Like Legion was written by the same person who did Emmerich and also Weeks. So I don't know why
Yeah.
they didn't just like, again, it's probably time. Again, I know I'm not giving them, like, we could critique the writing, but and there are issues, but I just feel everything just feels so rushed. So it's like that side seemed more developed, and again, they won't hire diversity writers or readers or diversity members of the staff. Come on, BioWare.
Sensitivity readers.
That's
Yeah.
the word. Thank you. I was gonna call myself a name. I didn't need to. I just made a mistake. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. Sensitivity readers is such a big thing, like in everything. I went to a role-playing game talk that was done by an author who was doing cowboys. There's a thing as one of their games. So I asked them, "Have you got sensitivity like readers in for this? Because it feels like if you're gonna do a cowboy, and how are you going to do this in a way that actually works like now?" And they were like, yeah, we're getting people in, we're doing these things. So if like when they're writing new RPGs for tabletop, they're actually thinking about this stuff, I what are you doing? You know, I don't know. Sorry, I have not looked at more questions.
I will say that the gender side of Tasha's story was super, super important to me. And I really appreciated that, not just having the pronouns, but having them matter, and like being able to pick our own and things like that. Like I went into like the game, or like when the game was coming out and like they were talking about it, and like one of my main hopes was just being able to pick they them as a pronoun, and then they went above and beyond that. So I was like, this is real nice. Like this should be the standard for gender inclusion.
I've always had a problem with the games when it's a decision that you're like leading. So like Cole, when you make him either more spirit or more human, it's like, what do you want? Like I want to help you.
Baldur's Gate 3 handled that better, and like that you can influence their decisions rather than necessarily just having to like strong arm them in the moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Someone did ask, how do y'all feel about the alleged AI writing being used in the Veilguard? I say alleged because we don't know 100% of if the whistleblower on Twitter is true, seeing how quickly the post disappeared. I didn't see this.
I've not heard of this either.
Yeah, me either.
I've heard the accusation that it feels AI generated the dialogue. Sometimes things are just bad.
Yeah, I do worry about this whole, oh, if something's bad, it equals AI.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure. It could be true. It could be true on like banter, for example, might be a place where they could have done stuff like that. Like where we have loads of games already where we've got characters with banter. Generate me some banter that fits. Maybe. I don't feel like, but the actual like in cutscene dialogue, I don't think was AI. In my opinion, it didn't feel AI, but I don't know. Yeah. It's disappointing.
I just think they lost their writer team. I think just lost the main writer team. Like the difference, like in Origins, where they have like dialogue, like language that characters aren't. They had a list of like language that characters aren't allowed to use, so they don't sound too modern. And the only character that was allowed to break that rule was Alistair, which is what Alistair sounds like that. And like, but it's very clear that they didn't have that for the Veilguard. Their language sounds a lot more modern, which is like characters like Solus and Morgan still maintain their gravitas because they still talk like they exist in the Dragon Age. The other characters, however, don't. They talk with a very like modern tilt to it.
I wonder if that was
Yeah.
intentional.
Because
Yeah.
we're in a
With
new,
like,
new area. of the
yeah,
world.
like it's a weird choice still because it's still very much not a modern setting.
I
But to be
don't-
like, oh, this area is more ahead. Look, they have modern language.
To me, it feels
They
a
have
little
zip
bit
lines.
like Dragon Age is losing a bit of its identity. Like with the music, there was Mass Effect tone, like notes, like the songs. Honestly, parts of Vice Out is just Mass Effect music. Like
Mm.
it could have just been copied and pasted in, and it feels like it was losing a bit of like the Dragon Age identity. I know we're in a different region, but they just I want to play a fantasy game. I don't want to play sci-fi. I love Mass Effect, but I want to play Dragon Age. I don't want to play fantasy Mass Effect, you know? So yeah, I'm a bit mm, mm, mm.
Mhm.
I liked a lot of the music, but I do know what you're saying. I think that's just because I have a soft spot for the person who actually like made the music there.
Yeah, I will say the Soul of Ellen ending, whatever, brings me to tears every time I hear it.
Oh, that's Trevor Morris.
Trevor
Uh,
Morris.
That is Trevor Morris mainly, yeah. They just
Yeah,
kind of like
beloved.
added a bit to
I
it.
think the only bit of music that I really, really vibed with, like it's like stuck with me, was the bits with the Titan. Like when you see the Titan, and then also the like Lyrium. I can't remember what the area is called, but where the Volta is. I couldn't think of what her name was then. I was like, that like I really liked that music. It was just it like built up in a good way, and I enjoyed it. But overall, the rest of the music didn't really stick with me.
I didn't mind Emmerich's music because it felt like something out of a Scooby Doo episode at times.
Oh
and
yeah, I
thought
loved
that was
Emmerich's
hilarious.
music. It was so goofy and fun.
I
Like,
thought it fit. That's the only music where I was kind of like, okay, this fits Emmerich. Like, you know, like character driven music, like The Lost Elf fits
mhm.
Solus. And the duality of the Lost Elf with the Dark Elf tone as well, like this man who's torn between what he has to do, like that. You can see, you can feel Solus's character
Yeah.
in those music notes. So yes, the music is very well composed. Like it's good music, it just didn't feel like it had a connection to the character. The Emmerich stuff did, but I couldn't tell you really any of the other like character
Mhm.
songs, if that makes
Uh,
sense, other than the one that has Trevor Morris in it, because you know, go.
Yeah, halfway through I turned off the music because it was pissing me off. Gotta be honest, that's where I was at. I'm like, this music is pissing me off. I don't know. I know that there was a bug at some point where the music wasn't triggering properly, so maybe that's around the time. But I only when I'm playing it, I only turn the music back on when I hit the final like part of it. I just have on Spotify the Dragon Age like Inquisition, and I'm just like a DJ when I go to certain areas, clicking on
I
a
respect
different
that so
song.
much.
I love that.
You have to do a video that says which track to play for which missions, just to
Oh
save
my
us some
god, I'll
time.
make a
That's
list.
a
I'll
great
make a list.
video. I need that. That'd be amazing.
Uh,
No, I did, because there's been a thing going around about ranking Dragon Age games, and I really struggle to like rank this is my favorite game. It's not Veilguard. Anyway, so I put like a spreadsheet together and different scores because I'm a psychopath, and they Origins 2 and Inquisition got the same goddamn score, and then Veilguard's
That's
like
so in
lower.
character for you.
And I'm just like, because there's so many things I love about all, I can't decide.
yeah, they all have strong points and they all have weak points, and that's like
God, yeah.
Dragon Age in a nutshell.
I like that you said that's a character for me because it really is. I
I
tried
feel
so.
like mine would be Inquisition, Origins, Veilguard, and then Dragon Age 2. Mainly
Mhm.
just because like Veilguard gets a lot of points because I'm not a gamer, but I enjoyed playing Veilguard.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, that's what Veilguard
it's
acts two
really
at the knees for me, and I
Mhm.
feel awful about that. Origins is the lowest though, because I'm sorry, just
I
can't.
love
It's
origin
too. It
stories.
needs an update for me. Like I need them to
Yeah.
For
remaster it or
gameplay,
remake it.
for
It's a tough
gameplay,
play.
Origins is at the bottom. Like you can see my spreadsheet. I posted it earlier if anyone's
Yeah.
interested. But game, like
Well, I've
game
never
gameplay,
sat
Origins
down
is
and
at the
played
bottom.
it. I've only watched like several like movie length versions of it. So I'm like I'm not even trying to do the gameplay. I just
You
really
know
like
what?
the
That's
story.
so fair. I
I
think my
respect
problem is
that.
also the protagonist doesn't talk, and I have a real hard time connecting, especially with the lack of facial. Like, I know it's an old game. Like I understand why it is what it is, but it just I just could get into it as much as I could the others. But yeah, so it's Origins is the lowest. 2
Bye, guys.
is like a much higher game, and then Veilguard and Inquisition are sort of near each other just because I really enjoyed playing Veilguard. Like, it was really fun. But Inquisition has my favorite story and romance.
Yeah, romances for me is Inquisition was the highest for romances, but overall
Oh.
story I really like 2 and seeing how the world and Hawk
Stuff
like
happened.
make a story
Well,
together.
there we go. I completely disconnected then.
Oh no!
Can we still hear you? Are you a voice? I don't know if you can hear.
Voice in our heads. Sometimes I can still hear them.
I don't know. If anyone else is.
No, you all just froze, and I was like, "What is happening?"
Oh, you're back.
But I'm back. I'm back from the dead.
What's your ranking for the Dragon Age game now that you're
I rank mine just on like how much I enjoyed the story, because I can tough it out through bad combat if I get good story. So I guess it's Dragon Age 2 is my top, then Inquisition, then Origins, and Veilguard. That would be my ranking for how much I enjoyed the story.
Yeah.
Ooh. Someone's asked, what is something you wish was implemented from the concept art in the art book? Any narrative, original character planning? We did touch on the Awakened Darkspawn earlier, was what Con said, as something I would have freaking killed for M. Shell as a companion. Freaking killed every fiber of my being.
Hot. She was so cool and hot.
Imagine
like, ma'am.
having a companion that was actually in the past with Solus and Felasan, seeing those memories and having a person that was actually there commenting on it. That maybe would have given us a bit more like perspective of things that actually happened. And you don't know if you could trust them because it's Imshale.
And there's such an arsehole as well. I would have loved that banter.
I would have been so good. And we could have romanced them. Oh, you're right. Oh, it hurts my heart. Why did they take that away from me?
And what was the name? I think it was Rivas. The one that was supposed to be like the bad cop for Solus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
She looked cool.
I'm trying to remember what's in the op, because I've tried to avoid it because I get pissed off with the bold elf discourse again. So I tried to not look at it.
I love bringing you the bold elf discourse. I'm so sorry.
Don't bring it up around me, please. But I probably Echo's going to say this, but Cole as a companion.
You're right.
Would have loved that. Sorry for stealing your answer.
No, you're good. I already answered with I've already forgotten her name again. I clearly didn't want to know that much.
Beanabees, what were you gonna say?
I wanted that pirate ship, not the submarine. I do agree with them that was a little bit not like asynchronous. But
it was cool though.
It was cool, but it's a little bit too out there for Dragon Age. But I wanted a pirate ship, a fucked up pirate ship at the beginning that gets eventually destroyed, and then we get a second hub in the lighthouse. Like
that'd have been
that would have been fun.
That'd have been really fun. Yeah. And it would have been a nice way to tie the Lords of Fortune in a bit more as well.
Yeah.
Like it had been Isabella's ship or something, and that's why she's there.
You can keep them all, keep her on as an advisor then, and then we can get the other advisors as we go.
That also intro mission for Varric and Isabella were like together with Rook, and we get a bit more of their backstory about Dragon Age 2.
Yeah.
And why would Varric tell Rook about the Red Lyrium idol? Why does Rook care? That scene makes no sense. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Sorry.
No. Forgot what I was gonna say. Solus raising a Titan at the end of the game in our book.
Solus raising a Titan would have been very interesting.
Maybe not Solus raising it, because I think that's a little bit too far. It pushes him too far, more morally speaking. But having a Titan be raised at the end, because they've been fucking with the Blight too much, or like if you had decided to make Harding honor the anger of the Titans, that being a potential ending, where they.
Or seeing Aldernan fuck with it too would have been cool. Yeah. Like lighting it and then controlling it.
Raising it. And fucking with the Titans one last time, and then
which area would you destroy though? Because that's gonna probably fuck up a lot of shit if a Titan sits up.
The Titan sits up. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, like all it takes is just one guy to go,
One thing that I'm glad is not in the game is right. I expected Solus to die in this. I've got to be completely honest. I thought he was going to sacrifice himself for his people and do what he needed to do, even if it was like a way for the Veil to come down in a more stable way. Something. I thought he wasn't going to make it. Or whatever. I don't want magical lobotomies for people in the game in general. I don't think that him doing it means, well, we do it to you. So I'm freaking glad that they took that ending out. I don't.
Yeah.
yeah,
hated
that
that.
made me miserable.
Soulless haters would have been more insufferable if that
They
was
would have been so bad.
a
Yeah.
probable ending.
Honestly, I'm kind of mad they didn't touch on tranquility in general because the whole conversation about like the Titans being made tranquil and then everybody being kind of mad about that, but like nobody
Yeah.
mentions the fact that it still happens to people now as well.
Or the cure to tranquility, just
Yeah.
who knows where that's gone.
Well, there's so many
Cassandra had
issues.
it, and that she's a Templar, so I don't like her having that. But yeah,
There was a thing that Harding says about elves having problems in just for Eldon, and I'm like, I mean, they're treated like shit in LA, to be honest. They're treated like shit most places.
yes,
That's why the Dalish have to like move.
it gets slaughtered daily in all It's bad.
Like, I was like, what are you talking about, Harding? What are you talking about? Oh, this game. I did enjoy it. I think it's because it was so close and I could see the potential of where it just needed that little
Yeah, the
little
potential
20
makes it more
minutes
annoying.
in the oven to like just get it there. It's just so it was close. It was close.
It's a fine game. It's not a good conclusion to Dragon Age.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Someone asked another question about Gillenane and Elgernon in the chat.
Oh, sorry.
They're like, no, some people discuss Gillenane and Elgernon were very nerfed as ancient gods in the game. Thoughts?
Agreed. That's a good question. Yeah, okay. What is with them? Yeah, so Mythal can turn into a giant dragon. Solus can turn into a giant wolf. Gillenane is tentacle woman. Elganan's just a dude. Really? But yeah, you just beat him up. You just beat him up as like a regular person. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it. It's a good question.
I don't know. I quite like them as villains. I think that there's a lot of like obviously again the whole thing of potential being wasted, but I think they're probably some of the strongest villains that we've had fight wise.
Yeah.
Like Corypheus, I basically sneezed on that man and he died. Like that was a real disappointment for me. I overleveled unintentionally. But with like Elgerman, especially if you're on the right difficulty levels, like that fight kind of sucked a little bit, at least for me. I mean, I might just be bad at the game. Like, and we also have to keep in mind that they have been stuck in jail for like thousands of years, and the veil is in the way, so they probably don't have their full strength. Same with like Solus in Inquisition. He was lacking, and he couldn't even open his orb and things like that. So they're probably not as strong as they could be, and that's exactly why they were trying to break into the rest of the Blight.
I wish there was like something that made more sense, like of like why. So Elganan's doing like the blood magic thing, and like in the Blood of Alathan mission, and almost controls Rook, and then Nev and Balara have to break it. Well, Emmerich stands there and looks pretty. Don't know why he wasn't involved in that, but never mind. He looked great though. Like I don't know like why then later during the other fight that he doesn't think to do that, because you don't have Nev and Balara there to break that.
I thought he did.
He tries, but then it doesn't work. But why does it not work? Again,
I can't remember. I've only played through the game once.
So I mean, there isn't a reason. And I think that there's just things like that where I can understand why people say that they were nerfed, because again, it was just there's inconsistencies in the writing about the power level of these things to progress the plot, and from it's frustrating. I get why people if it was the dagger, if it was the fact that Solus had done something to our heads, so then they couldn't, so there was a reason that only Rook could stop them as a mortal, because I know it's just
We
they're just
spite and
guys.
spite alone.
Yeah, I think it's just, yeah.
No, it's probably just some like lack of continuity. That's never been an issue in Dragon Age games before. I don't know why it would be now.
Never. It's been a solid. Anyone got any other things about Elganon or Gillenane in general that they wanted to touch
Yeah,
on?
I think they have a lot more presence than like Corypheus did. I still think the best villain was Meredith, but
Mm-hmm.
they have a lot more presence than Corypheus did for sure. When they're on screen, they like took hold of every scene they were in, whereas
Mhm.
Corypheus is just there. Like he had like one good line about like the seat of the maker being empty, and that was it.
Yeah. He served in his monologues. He did not serve
Oh
anywhere
yeah,
else.
Mhm.
he came and went, but
Yeah.
there's more to go on with Gillenane and Elganon,
I
but there's still not enough there.
I liked
Yeah.
the tree that you could listen into their conversations as well. That
I
was
kept
Yeah.
forgetting to do
that
that.
was interesting though. I liked that they put that in as a way for us to like listen.
And
Again,
another thing, go on,
I was just gonna
go
say they
on. I
could
don't
have
want to
said
put in.
they could have just said that the dagger, like because we could listen in on Elganon, it was meant that he couldn't control us. There was they could have given a
Yeah.
reason. They could have. Sorry.
Yeah, but I was excited because like back in Inquisition, I wanted more of Corypheus because as a concept, he's really cool. But because we're playing as the Inquisitor, we don't ever see scenes of him like alone. But then in Veilguard, we get to see a scene of Gillenane and Elganon, like the camera pans out and we're just seeing them in their
Mhm.
own scene, not through Rook. So I thought, oh my god, we're gonna have like scenes just between Elganon and Gillenane getting their
Yes.
Yes.
insight.
And then
But then
that
we
felt
don't.
so out of place because they didn't do that. So it's like, why
Yeah,
did
we
we
did it
get this
once,
now? Like, this makes no
and I
sense.
thought we're gonna get like we're not just perceiving the game through Rook, we're gonna get extra scenes to elaborate on these two new antagonists,
Mhm.
and then they don't do it ever again.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought we'd get something to show like how Gillenane's mourning Andre or like and that
Yeah,
relationship and no. But yeah,
No.
it would have been a good way to have seen more of them, especially because they did it once. Why do it once and then
they did it
Yeah,
once, and I
no,
thought,
it made it
oh, it's
weirder.
great.
Like, don't do it at all, or do it more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's just more evidence that the game feels incomplete to me. Like they have parts of it that just don't like Varric's narration that just kind of goes nowhere.
mhm.
Yeah, but
I
like
love
I
that he
think
just told us what was going to happen in all
Absolutely.
of them. It was so funny. Like, little did they know. Like, no, stop it, Eric.
I feel like I would have liked it better if it went someplace. It just happened like a few times and then just did. Like I feel like I would have liked it because I was like, what? Like at some point I was like, what happened to Varric's narration? Like at some point in the middle of the game, I was like, wait a second,
Yeah.
where did that
Yeah.
go?
It felt like
Um,
they were trying to channel Dragon Age 2 with that. But
yeah,
that works because we're playing the game through Varric telling the story.
yeah,
But in Veilguard, that doesn't convey the same way. It
yeah.
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah,
translate
it
I
very
would have
does.
well.
I would have appreciated it like later, like if Varric had survived to some capacity, and at the end it shows that he's like reading a book to like some
Yeah, which is
person,
is the
whatever.
point
Yeah.
in Dragon Age 2 is
Yeah,
that yeah, he is tell I love those moments in Dragon Age 2 where it's like, where he does his mission and he just lies, that he's like
I
kicks down the
love
door
that,
and
yeah.
machine guns
yeah,
these people.
Or
It's
even
like
just like a
so good.
subtler shift. Like, I don't know, we
yeah,
realize that he's gone, and then suddenly those narrations aren't Barrack, but maybe us reading it or something, or
yeah,
like
Mm.
Solus, and it's just like that subtle shift. I think he should have maybe not said as much in them as well, because
yeah,
my man, stop spoiling where we're going.
yeah. Yeah. Um uh I felt my expectations with that. I'm gonna go back to the Elgernot and Gillenade thing, but I feel like my expectation with the narration thing is that like leaning into the fact that Varric is an unreliable narrator in which he tells us what's going to happen and then like it doesn't happen like that. That's where I was expecting what's gonna happen, but that's not what happened. So it just kind of like what the hell's the point of that? But
Yeah,
with
good
Elgernot,
point.
yeah, with Elgernot and Gillenane, I was hoping for like a Wizard of Oz situation in which like like Rook realizing like Elgernon doesn't have like that much power.
Right.
Like the like tyranny comes from a place of fear. Tyranny comes from a place of lack. Like Elgernon becomes a spirit of tyranny because like I think like also I believe he was a spirit of command before he went to tyranny, which is why what Solus has beef with a spirit of command when he meets him. And like
That's
I
what
think
I
that
said. Sorry, I
oh
got excited.
same mind yeah command because I feel like also like he's the first. Someone asked this in the chat like why did Elgernot get a body. This leads into that because like command has frustrations with not being able to change the physical world. And so it would make sense that Elgernon would look at the Titans and be like, I want to do that because I want to be able to break the earth and build mountains and just move the sun in the sky.
You
It would make
beautiful, beautiful brain.
Thank you. But Sarah's is also for me as well with the command. I just think it makes sense.
It does make sense. It makes sense. It just makes sense, and it makes
Yeah.
sense that command would get corrupted
This is
to
canon
tyranny.
to me now.
It
I've
is
accepted
canon.
it.
I did a whole video about
Agreed.
which spirit was whichever nearest. I said that
I
Andriel
love
was
that.
adventure turned conquest. I know conquest doesn't exist, but I'm like that's canon. You
We
can't
could just
take it
make
away
it up.
from me.
Yeah, I like it. I love it. Yeah, like and yeah, but like also like him becoming a physical form and then realizing that like he's not as powerful as he wants to be, like, and he can't actually change the world that much even with the physical because he doesn't have skill. And that's why he goes around trying to get other people. So I feel like I don't feel like Elgernon was nerfed because I feel like he was always
A bit
this
shit.
hollow shell
No,
of a
I said
man.
I did another video that touched on about the
Yeah.
cycle of using love as like as using the person that you
Mhm.
love as a tool. And I think that Mythal
Mhm.
Solus learns it from Mythal. I think Mythal learns it from Elganon. I think that Elganon realized that he could not control and have a kingdom without the people that he needed to control the people, and he
It makes
needed
sense.
Mythal to keep the people kind of in line and give them that hope and give them that way
Yeah,
of
like why else would tyranny share power with
Yeah.
a bunch of other
'cause
people?
he's
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah,
Agree, 100%
this is
agree, bro.
so good.
Side question: what do you think Philosan's spirit was? before he took
I
over?
said hope because I think that the everyone's hope to me. I'm just so fucking desperate for a spirit of hope. They're in the World of Thedas book. There's not a single one in the goddamn game, but they're said to be the most powerful benevolent spirit, but they are the most rare. And I'm like, so okay, they're not there because they're rare, whatever. But I'm like, why is there not a spirit of hope in this goddamn game? But yeah.
There's been so many, but that was like prior to the game coming out, so that was based on only what we had in the book, which was like not a lot compared to a lot of the backstory stuff. So it's changed a lot, just all over the fucking place. I think me and
I mean,
Phalastanus has had this conversation about like 10 times.
We've also had this conversation, but I always like to hear new thoughts and feelings.
no, I can't remember what you said, Briar. What was your answer? Because I just agree with it wholeheartedly.
Oh my
No
goodness, what
notes.
did I
It's
say?
temperance, wasn't it?
What
Conference. That's it.
temperance?
See,
Yeah.
it's word to mouth.
Sorry,
It got
this is
to
my
me.
dog.
Oh yeah, temperance. I was like, what did I say? Because I've been thinking about it. Because I'm constantly been like, was he fleshborn or was he a spirit?
Yeah, I'm in both camps, but I do, with a specific line in Master Empire, I do think he was spirit
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
there is.
himself.
Yeah. I also think that with the people, I think the people are both spirits and elves because there's so many codex entries in the Verdathara library that talks about spirits and elves being together and like in education and different things. So I think that because someone said that like being one of the people doesn't necessarily mean you were fleshborn either. So I think it's really open to interpretation, like a lot of things in this game. But based on that line in Master Empire, I think it's spirit. Sorry, Jagpaw said, which Diana. Anyway, my last question: if one chooses the "but I want to fight you" ending with Solus, would you have liked to see Solus as Solus boss fight, or are you satisfied with the cutscene fight?
I wish he would have decimated Rook. I'm gonna be so real. That's kind of what I wanted before Veilguard came out. I was like, if there's a fight with Solus at all, like even if we beat him in the end, I wanted to kick our ass, like at least once, and he didn't. So
There's an ending where they get stabbed at least. This is a bait question. This feels like bait. This question. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. I don't like the superhero punch. It feels so weird to me. The way that entire scene is done. I mean, most of it's fine. I just think the slowed down punch. Grow up. What is this? The Avengers?
It's
What am I
so
playing?
Again, John Epler, when I catch you, like
Yep.
I feel like
your
John
feet
F.
with
probably animated that scene himself.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
the-
His blood, sweat, and tears went into that.
It's not for me though. It's for that group of people, and they can have it. They can have it as much
Yeah.
as they
Yeah, you know
want.
what? If they're satisfied
If
with
they're
that
happy with
ending,
that,
they can have it.
never gonna happen.
We got-
never
we
gonna
got a
happen.
feel like
whole-
I have to represent for the feral Solavellans in the world, because I would have loved to have like nuance of like the way that a Lavellan would react, because my Lavellan absolutely had, I want to punch this man and then I want to kiss him.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
they literally
Same with
don't allow
mine.
for that nuance there. Like I like the way that they presented Solus in this game, in the way that the narrative built up Solus, I don't think Solus deserved to walk off into the if I just came into this game with just the information they gave me about Solus in this game,
Mm-hmm.
would not give him the sympathetic ending. The only reason why I give him the sympathetic ending is because we paid attention to all those shit that happened.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
I just came into this game, I'd be like, he's getting punched in the face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agree.
Because
That
they
ending
don't give
needs
him any context.
Inquisition.
Yeah, that
didn't
ending.
Do you know what winds
Balance
me up?
it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go on, Felsanis. I've talked a lot.
Sorry, I was just they didn't balance it out. Like, again, a big fan of Master Empire. I loved seeing the more ruthless side to Solus.
Mhm.
That was great, but then they didn't balance it out with
Yeah.
Solus's virtues enough. Like, they
Yeah.
really wanted us to hate Solus because, again, if you don't
John
have
Epler.
Inquisition for context, how can you like Solus with just Veilguard as your only source material? I don't.
One of the things that I've been I played the game, so I've been very open about this on my channel, that like I've had a lot of issues this year with like depression and grief and whatever. So and I see so much of that in Solus already. So I'm looking for it in the game. I'm looking for the
Yeah,
intrusive thoughts
same.
on the walls. I'm looking for the
Yeah.
the tiny table with the big table with the one serving. But I did feel I'm really pissed, but I'm also really happy because when you unlock the entire lighthouse, you get the statue, which is the big golden one, which is called Fenrirel's Morning. I just wish, so I feel so like validated that he is. I think, but I'm just like, why didn't you put more of the stuff to show that he is mourning, he is grieving? Because fine,
Yeah.
you want to take away the revolutionary stuff and you just want to turn it into this person who's doing a terrible thing because he's blinded by regret and grief and he can't see another way. Fine, tell that story. But that story touches a lot on mental illness and depression and those aspects. So if you're going to tell that story, you need to make him at least a tiny bit sympathetic to show that he is grieving, he has these issues, he has these internal struggles that we know and we see a little bit in the Solavellum letter, the stay with you as Solus as I wanted, that you see a tiny bit there, but we should have got more. There should have been notes in the
It shouldn't have been
Wolf's Den.
crumbs.
Yeah, it should have been so much more than
Yeah.
crumbs, and it frustrates me. The Wolf's Den and unlocking that den should have had a note in there that was Solus's point of view that shows some of his inner turmoil of what he was doing. That's the point. Epler. I'm sure it's not just Epler, but based on the interviews that Epler said, I'm like, because it didn't balance. I know it's there. I know that character feels those things because he does, but it's just I wish it was more inherently clear for others.
Yeah, like the fact that this game is supposed to be a game you can play standalone, and then not having those aspects, I can't
Yeah.
actually wrap my head around playing it without the building blocks of Inquisition, because
Yeah.
Solus to me was already so sympathetic that I didn't need those things in Veilguard because I already saw him that way, so that didn't change that. But then if you haven't had those building blocks, I can't see how you'd sympathize with him. Like, not a whole lot anyway.
Cool. Well, we're coming up to the 3-hour mark, and we are at the end of questions. So it's up to you. Shall we call it here? Do you want to keep going for a bit longer? I'm easy. We didn't actually plan out how long we were going to do this for.
No,
Yes,
we did
same, I'm
not.
easy.
I'm good for whatever. If we want to stop, if we want to keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. Last calls.
Do you want to do a last call? We'll do a last call.
Last call.
My voice
And
is
then-
going, and I don't want to have other people. Sorry, I
And
just
then
read
that'll be it.
the message that says I did not want to be part of John's weird kink. And I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
That's so true.
It's
Sweet.
because 70% of us still chose to redeem him anyway. Yeah, it's true. Despite
Yeah.
having the
But that's-
uncharitable spin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like my best friend Tolly that's underscore Barnaby on the internet if you're interested. Anyway, but they're a Mass Effect girly. She had never played like Dragon Age or whatever, but like it's like play Dragon Age Veilguard. It's like built for people to play if you've never touched Dragon Age. And even they did the redemption ending because I do feel like the narrative core of Veilguard is so confusing. I think like it is about regret, yet it doesn't treat Solus's regrets with like the same amount of weight as like anybody else's. They're like, you should just get over it, like skill issue kind of.
Agreed.
Um and not acknowledging the fact that this man's a millennial old, has like regrets every day when your tiny lifespan that does not even like compare against the weight of like the amount of regrets that he might potentially have. But also being a game about regret and overcoming regret. So I feel like the best ending that you can give Solus and the game as a whole is to do the redemption ending. And I think a lot of people like feel like the game is leading me to giving this man a redemption ending.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Though the rest of the game doesn't do enough legwork for that. It just feels dissonant if you don't redeem him because with all the other themes that are going on in
Mhm.
all the other companion quests about like overcoming regret and redeeming, like, facing your problems head on.
Mhm.
So like I feel like that's also where that 70% comes from. It being like, this is weird. I guess I'll redeem him. Because I did all this work to get this statuette for Mithal. I might
Feels
as
rude.
well,
Feels rude not to.
Yeah.
I
It
do
feels rude
wish
not to.
there was like one scene though. Someone asked earlier about something we'd add in. I don't even think it's fan service. We just needed it in the goddamn game. But you turn up at the start of the game. You go to his lair or hideout, and there's chains, and it says, "Oh, he has been freeing slaves, right? In Mirathas
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
That is in the game. It's canon. He's been helping people. And it just never comes up again." I really wanted a Shadow Dragon quest in Minrathous that was some of the people that Solus had been helping and gave us some information of why they weren't with him. Why, what? Why, Epler? Why? it could be weeks
Ow,
too.
sorry.
Any of them.
Just
I just wish because I feel like they were so desperate to not make him sympathetic that they put the crumbs in, but
nothing more. Yeah.
The crumbs were enough.
You know what? Also, they needed to be put in there for like at least one of the regret scenes. That man with Vaseline, because Cole says he burnt it off his face. He had it.
Well,
It's canon. You
the
can't
one
take that.
the one where he takes a farm, his face, it's the only one where it's completely in shadow. You
Mm-hmm.
can't see.
Mhm.
And I think that's because again, BioWare are cowards. Someone's gonna clip me saying that. I don't know why they didn't show it. I release you from my service is what she says at the end. Cowards.
Literally.
Someone did ask a question for the last orders. Was what non-romanceable character would you smooch first? I'm guessing excluding Solus because God, that man was hot in this game. So
I think it fell aside.
Bellasan, okay.
I mean, who else?
Yeah. I can't actually think of anyone else that I'd want to smooch off the top of
Viper.
my head.
I wanted to smooch the Viper.
I respect that.
It's so bad.
If I'm gonna be honest to my AO3 readings of late, it'd be Elgadan.
Yeah, you know
yeah.
what? Yeah,
His
but I was
goddamn
trying to
voice.
be,
I'm
a
gonna be
little bit
honest.
normal.
I recommended Elgadan Smut on my account. People know what I'm about here. Let's not pretend. That as soon as that man started talking in my head, I was like, oh my god, there's two of them. I was like, they're not. They're very different.
I mean, I have a
But I
whole
was
smash
like-
and pass list, but
Alganan's voice actor did a fantastic
He-
job. The lines that
he
were
Oh, yeah.
written in that scene, the lines that are written in that scene, Very, very Jareth like labyrinth vibes. The
Yes.
just serve me and I will
Yeah.
be your slave kind of vibe. Oh my god, I need that fic. I need that. Someone write me an Elgana and Jareth like AU fic labyrinth swap. That'd be great. Um. So I'm
But
not
yeah,
normal.
they
I'm not.
made
Taya.
Felison
Taya
gorgeous
is
and
also a
just
good one.
said
Sorry.
no.
Mm.
No, I was just
Yeah.
saying they made Felison gorgeous and just said no, you can't
No,
have
you
him.
can't have him. He's
Yeah, no.
You
behind
can't
this
have
wall all
him.
the time. Um,
They won't take his curly hair from me though. I refuse to draw him without it.
screaming. Yeah.
I
There was a question specifically for Felisanis on Twitch about
apologies.
Was there?
Cassandra. So I know you.
Oh yeah, sorry. There was one more above that said, "Did you send Ilario to jail or save him?" I saved him because
Oh.
I felt bad after reading the Wake comic. That the little Wake short story made me cry, and I still would justice for Ilario. I think the way they handled that quest just pisses me off, to be honest.
Yeah, he gets. No, I don't. I don't punish him. I do the.
Neither do I.
I mean, it
Yeah.
would be really hypocritical of me to
I
punish
can't remember.
Ilario after I'm dedicated my entire rug to being about redemption and letting people out of their situations because they were going to save Solus no
I
matter
have
what.
literally no recollection of what I did in my first round to Valario.
Screaming.
He was just there. He was just a man.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember the quest. I just don't remember what I picked.
Valisanis, did you say?
I saved him, I think. Yeah.
How? Go on, Valisanis. How have your opinions of Cassandra being influenced by seeing her homeland? Oh wait. So your opinion of Cassandra after seeing Navarra has it changed? For me, honestly, it made her a
Yeah.
bit less
What is
sympathetic.
up with her accent? Why does she have that accent? Emmerich doesn't.
We don't touch on the Dragon Age accents. They're all over the
Yeah,
place.
true. Let's not get into that kind of worms. I still hate her. If that's what you're really wondering, I still hate her. But now I'm just more confused about her accent than anything else.
It's the whole spirit
I feel
thing
like
as
it makes her
well.
worse.
Like the whole way that she is with Cole, and I don't know. I don't know if the Grand Necropolis is the same as Navarra City about how they treat spirits, because I wanted to be where the spirits are, like all the time.
Mm.
I was so walking around there picking real estate with Emmerich. I didn't want to leave. I'm like, you guys, you know what's up. But yeah, I don't know. Cassandra exists.
Yeah,
Cassandra's
it's like
there just to annoy me. That's her only purpose in life.
yeah. Cassandra is a character that I liked going in first time, and then the more I played, the more I interacted with, I started liking her less. And then
I couldn't kiss
being in
her.
Navarre, interacting in Navarre, I'm like, where do you get your politics from?
Yeah.
Like, where is this coming from?
Well, I think her like hatred of mages we see in that weird film thing that she's in,
Oh,
and
that
it's like her brother literally gets
brother.
decapitated in front of her. So I can kind of understand that side of it, but I don't really understand the spirit side. Like the spirits didn't do shit, Cassandra.
Yeah, it's very perplexing.
Curioso also asked Felisanis, did you think that Felisan would be so short?
Ah! He does give Short King energy, to be fair.
I think
So yeah,
isn't he
I kinda expected it.
as tall as the elves, like the modern elves can be without
But it's
like
like he is.
unique
I think he's
models?
just shorter than Solus, but
He's
Solus is
quite
just
a,
physically tall in Veilguard. I feel.
he is very
Yeah,
long.
they I feel like they like shot like the heights of all the characters though. Like Solus feels a little bit shorter than like he is in.
Everyone just
It's
feels
like with
short
the
in that
Inquisitor,
game.
they are
Yeah.
so much shorter than Solus is, but you go to Inquisition and that's not the case at all.
Yeah,
So heights are very weird
yeah,
in Veilguard.
yeah. I still think that Felisan is pretty tall. Like it's just the game. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually do think he's as tall as you can be as a male elf
yeah,
in Veilguard.
makes more sense.
Mm.
Aces. Well, I think that is all the questions for tonight. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. doesn't Solus slouch a lot in Inquisition? He does at the start. He's got that little pose. Also, like Emmerich, I really should do a video comparing those two. Anyway, I just don't want to get cancelled.
Just his fucking memory is just picturing Felisand's shoulder. That's hilarious. It's like, that was a short man. I remember him being distinctly short.
But yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining. Thank you, Bean Bees, Felisandus,
Yeah,
and
thank
Echo
you.
for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
I might be doing something on New Year's Day, because it's the day before my birthday. I don't know what I'm doing, but I can let you guys know if you're up for doing something.
Yeah, please do.
I could say this out of here, not in front of everyone.
We're all trapped now. We gotta do.
Nope, I will put you all on the spot. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. I hope you had a great time. I'll try and organize another thing with other people. Have a good, I don't know, I was gonna say have a good Christmas. I'm gonna see you on TikTok anyway. You can find me as Lady Crazy Dragon on Twitch, TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Briar, where can people find you?
You can find me at BeanaBees _ or without the underscore over on Blue Sky because they don't do that thing over there. But yeah, at BeanaBees _ everywhere on the internet. Yapping about Solus, drawing art about Solus. Currently just Solus post. But that's fine. That's where you can find me.
Solus brain rot.
Yes, I respect
Solus.
it. Felisandus?
Where you can find me.
Yes.
Just Felisandus on TikTok and Tumblr. That's the only ones I use at the moment.
Aces. Echo?
Echo _sounds _ because my name is taken on TikTok, and then Echo Sounds on Blue Sky. And I also just post a lot of Solus stuff and a lot of Melavalin. It's a lot.
And you can also find PurpleCon on TikTok and on Blue Sky. I think that's all where he is. DM them. DM him. For more links. But yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining in. I'm gonna hit end stream. I never know how to end these things. I just stop talking.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.